Hello and welcome to this very special episode of the Sausage Factory, in which we celebrate the 50th, 60th anniversary of Friday the 13th part, the 30th anniversary of Friday the 13th part 7, The New Blood. I am your moderator, Pizzal. Joining me tonight, I have got our old buddy, Eric. How's it going, man?
It's going really well. I'm excited to be back with you guys, especially for this one. This is all we ever do is talk about Friday the 13th on this damn show. So it's always great when we can make it the focus.
It's true. Yeah, that's what everybody says. No matter what the topic is, we somehow bring it back to Friday the 13th. It's just in our blood. It's just in the blood.
Yep.
New blood.
Our new blood. Yeah, damn
The new blood.
Geriatric blood. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Also with me tonight is Orc. What's up, Orc?
Sup, players? How you living? We're doing Friday the 13th part 7 and we chilling. I got some sparkling ice and there will be no killing. For me at least.
All right, Orc. Well, Orc, how you doing? How's the health doing?
Recovering. Hopefully I can sit sometime this summer, but it's been 20 months. I don't even know what it feels like anymore. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
It's magical, buddy. I can't wait for you to experience it.
Peter has this look on his face. He's like, what the hell do you have happened to you? I had a pilonidal cyst that basically tunneled to my spine.
Oh,
So, yep.
you can't sit down?
Can't sit down. Yeah.
So you just stand up all day or lay down? You can sleep, I hope.
I lay on my side and I stand up. That's it.
Oh.
So, yeah.
For
Or
almost
don't sleep.
for almost 2 years, Peter. For almost 2
You
years.
should blog seriously, like this experience. Like I'm fascinated how you managed to never sit down. I don't know.
I log on the chats with my friends when I'm gaming, and they're like, so what would you do if you had to stand for almost 2 years? They're like, I don't want to be mean and give you the wrong direction, but I'd probably kill myself, obviously in a joking way. And they're like, okay. They're like, don't do it though. Don't do it though. I'm like, okay, I won't do that. But yeah.
Well, you recently had another surgery, and that surgery went pretty well, right?
Pretty well. Yep.
Okay, so the prognosis is pretty good, right?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I mean, I'm pumped for the show. I mean, mainly because B-Movie Mike is here and he has so much wisdom to enlighten us with. So, and he's vaping it up like H3 Productions. So,
Okay.
Vape Nation, right, Mike? Woo!
Well, speaking of B-Movie Mike's here with us. How you doing tonight, man?
What's up, guys? VP all the way, man. Vape Nation.
What are we vaping tonight, Mike? What flavor?
What the hell is this shit called? Strawberry Alien Pop.
Whoa.
It's like a strawberry candy flavor.
Okay.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure if I want to ask how you vape that, but
Just with the vaping device thing, little tank.
sweet.
No biggie.
It's what all the hip kids are doing these days, and Mike's trying to stay hip. So I mean,
Or the old guys that try to quit smoking. See, I'm the other end. I'm not trying to be hip. I'm hopefully trying to avoid lung cancer. That's my goal. So it's a lot less sexy, but that's me.
there you go.
My internet connection tonight is holy shit bad. You guys are lagging and skipping ahead, going in fast forward. It's like, I don't remember taking acid before the show, but holy shit, this is fucked up. So if I miss a few things or don't respond, it's I don't know. I'm gonna hang in here, but if I disappear, it's not me, it's the internet. I recently upgraded. They say, hey, upgrade. Okay, I upgraded. Apparently I had an old Bright House, and now I'm full on Spectrum. But unfortunately, they only give one wired connection, and everything else in the house is their high-speed Wi-Fi, which I hate Wi-Fi anyway, and this is why. Because Wi-Fi is terrible. So supposedly I have 400 speed. I went from 150 to 400, but if Wi-Fi is unusable, it doesn't matter if it's 1,000. I'm in the next room from the modem. It shouldn't be this bad. But
Wow.
sometime it's different during different parts of the evening, but well, it took me forever to get in. So hopefully I don't disappear. But it's good to be back. It's been a while between our work schedules and other stuff going on. You know, it's been like a month since I've done the show. I was in withdrawal.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun. It wasn't a good experience, but what a way to come back. We got Peter back on the show. We got Friday the 13th. Oh, hell, it's a party.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to
Is
it.
Walt Gorney going to have a narration for this show to kind of reorient everybody about what's happened?
That would be great.
And something Eric always comments on, if I knock my face off, I added an extra light to the situation. So
You know,
I won't be
I was
so
about to
in the
say,
dark.
actually, I see way more of you, Mike, and I actually was like, are you in a different room?
my wonderfully aged visage. Enjoy.
Don't do that
This
again,
is like
Mike.
the
That
last
was
episode of Home Improvement. I can't remember the last time I saw the bottom of Mike's face. This is fantastic.
If Peter wasn't enough, if Friday the 13th wasn't enough, we get a full-on face reveal of Mike. So I mean, it's, you know, but yeah, it has been a little.
Please.
There you go. It has been a little while, so it is good to be back. It's good to be talking Friday the 13th, and it's always great to have Peter with us. Rainbow Wrath.
A lot of people were discussing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say a lot of people were discussing our premature demise. We haven't died. The show hasn't died. We're still going. Life happens, and we're back.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Very well said. Rainbow Wrath is with me tonight. Rainbow, how are you doing, sir?
Doing good. I was talking to Orc. I fucking forgot it was part 7, so that's why I have a part 6 poster. Did I think ahead? There is a poster over there, but if I again thought ahead, it would be behind me. But I do have a case of Mellow Yellow. Love part 7, The New Blood. Looking forward to it. Glad to be on the show like always. And cool to have Peter Bracke here. Love the book. Have the book there. And love the documentary as well. Great doc.
Thanks.
And of course, our special guest, the author of Crystal Lake Memories, the world's foremost authority on Friday the 13th.
Dubious decision.
Mr. Peter Bracke, how's it going, man?
Good. It was always great to be here. I can't believe it's how many. Because the first one I did was part 4.
Was it or was it? I can't remember. Gosh,
crazy.
I thought it was part 3.
Yeah, maybe you're right. It's just crazy how long it's been. I look forward to every Friday the 13th. I always look forward to it. And I miss it when we don't do it on a Friday the 13th.
Well, what did you do for Friday the 13th last week, Peter? Anything special?
Fortunately, nothing too. I was doing some work, so I was up late on a new writing project. So, but I did put one of the movies on in the background, so they're always good for that. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, how are you? You mentioned the new writing project. What can you tell us about it? Do you want to tell us anything about it?
Watch Facebook and Twitter late this year. It's all I can say. It's a big book, Crystal Lake Memories, horror movie related. There might be some Friday the 13th in there, but that's all I can say. So
okay. Well, I'm gonna spoil things. Peter and I were talking before the show. It is a Leprechaun retrospective.
Yes.
All of the Leprechaun movies.
With epilogue by the Critters, right? The Critters.
Mm-hmm.
Count me out on that Leprechaun stuff.
Well, it's so funny here in LA. They have every month they have like screenings. Like they had part 7. They had Nightmare on Elm Street 4 with Rennie Harlan, and they just did one with Leprechaun with someone from the movie, not Jennifer Aniston, and like the ticket sales just plummeted. No offense to Leprechaun fans, but that franchise I loved is the other ones. So I didn't go to that one.
Yes, very much. Yes, that's well.
Yeah, they tried.
They tried. But did anybody else here on the panel do anything for Friday the 13th last week? Anything special?
I mean, I hit up the game. I was playing a little bit. In fact, Peter, is either you or your partner or somebody was trying to invite me, and I wasn't able to jump into your game, unfortunately. But
what's your screen name? You probably don't want to say
I am. I think. Oh yeah. Well, actually, I don't mind so much, but I can hit you up offline. But yeah, we're like friends on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much all I did, like in celebration. I wanted to watch part 4, and life kind of intruded, and so I decided on playing the game instead, and got some XP.
Yeah, I was hoping there was a new update for the game, but there was no real new content. So
I was kind of mad about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
In fact,
did they dropped any of those new updates or anything? I saw that they were adding the what's her name from part 7 actually as a playable character. Have they done anything else to the game recently?
No, the last update
they
was
haven't.
Pinehurst. Yeah, back in what?
Yeah, Pinehurst. So it was January or early February, whenever it was. They have not. What they said was, it's funny. Jay and I actually got in a little bit of a Twitter fight with some people because Jay responded to the developers and kind of just said, like, "Hey guys, like this is unacceptable. Like it's been months. There's no new content. Like your response, everything is soon." And a bunch of people jumped all over him, but they said April. And I think people just naturally assumed, like, oh, April, because there's a Friday the 13th. And there were a bunch of people like, oh, well, they didn't say that. And it's like, okay, the game is named Friday the 13th. There's a Friday the 13th in April. I don't think it's out of bounds for people to think that that's what you guys were shooting for. But yeah, no, so far it was like a big, you could get double XP, extra CP. And I'm hoping by the end of this month they get it out. And there's a bunch of new stuff they've told us is coming. Like again, the Melissa character, which they named her something different, but it's Melissa. Yeah. I mean, look at her. Jason X is still out there. The map for the Grendel map is out there. They're even coming up with like a concept called the salt mines. So like all the jerks that just rage quit or like are just bad players, like there'll be some way of tracking that in the game and you won't get matched with them anymore. Like they'll all kind of go in their own section and get to go play bad games with each other, I guess.
So I'm not a huge gamer. So is this like normal for games like this to stagger content, or usually are they much more like complete when they come out?
It depends how shitty the devs are.
It depends on the game.
Yeah.
I mean, because a game like...
a lot of games they'll do that to keep the experience feeling new and also to continue to get revenue out of the game.
I
guess go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say the difference is that when most developers promise content, it comes out at the time that they promise it, so that's a different type. Like when Call of Duty, sure they extend it with their map packs and stuff, but when they say it's coming out, it comes out that day. It's none of this coming soon crap, I mean, and then waiting because they know engaging the audience and keeping the audience engaged.
Yeah,
they're pretty
and they have pretty good like social media teams too. Like to Mike's point, like if it's going to be late, and sometimes it is. I mean, let's be honest. There's been Battlefield, Call of Duty. Sometimes they miss the date, but they tell you like in advance. They usually give you like XP, and then they say like, okay, it's gonna be out next week. Mm-hmm. And they also usually ship you a complete game. Like that's the other thing. Is that like the Friday the 13th game kind of launched somewhat incomplete. And I'm definitely not. There are people that complain about the game hardcore. I'm not one of them. I think the game's a lot of fun. I have a good time with it. There's people that jump all over it. I really don't want to be that guy, but it is true that their communication on this stuff just is not good. Like they could do a much better job.
What they'll do. So, sorry, Mike, I gotta say this, but like, good companies, what they'll do is they'll be like, okay, we're not launching at midnight. Go to bed. Don't take a day off from work tomorrow. We're launching at 5 p.m. tomorrow. They'll do stuff like that, and then when they actually they say an update's coming, they'll actually have it on that day or a few days after. Like with Friday the 13th, like 3 months will pass by, and then they'll be like, hey, it's Sunday night. There's a new Jason. Have fun. And I'm like, okay, I'll get to that on Tuesday when I can. And I love the game too, but I like Gun Media as a company, but I'm not a fan of Ilphonic, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, and I wonder too if any of the game developers are maybe waiting on the outcome of this lawsuit before they do anything else to the game, or I don't know.
John told me they have full rights. That he has rights to the character, and so they can use all icon. Movies. Yeah, that's not a problem.
The reason for the big delay, and again, I'm not giving them excuses, but there is a reason why it's been so long. They're pretty much moving the game to a new engine.
Mhm.
So they've had to update like every single like texture and feature in the game. Like one update they did give was to say like, hey guys, we know it's been a long time and we haven't really talked about it, but like this engine is a huge update. Like for example, the last test we ran, like the bathroom showers spawned out next to the car. So basically just like saying like every element in the game that populates, that does things, is being touched and affected, and that it's just there's a lot of work and a lot of testing that needs to go into to adjusting it. So from that perspective, like I understand why it's taking them so long, but again, like I said, they're just not telling us anything.
Yeah.
They're announcing like all these great things that will come out, but it's like it's going to come out.
Yeah. Well, they published that cool roadmap a while back, and I think at the first 3 circles, and now it seems like that's just totally
it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think the thing with that game and with the developers, it was a blessing and a curse for them to get the rights to Friday the 13th, because they rushed it to get it out. They had a ton of hype around the game. Of course, we all had huge expectations for the game. They released it in I wouldn't even say a beta build. I'd say an alpha build, buggy and glitchy, and they were slow to fix things. They've been slow with new content. They've just been slow. And everything they've got it's always like you said, I've said this in the past, the gun media catchphrase should be soon, because everything with them is soon. And the game can be incredibly fun. And then at the drop of a hat, you get in a glitch, or there's just a million different variables that can come in and absolutely make the game controller shatteringly maddening.
Yeah.
And those were the things that pulled me away from the game. All the glitches and the bugs and games that last 2 seconds and waiting 15 minutes for games that last 2 seconds, and I just kind of stopped playing.
Yeah, and then when they release like the double XP weekend or an update, it just completely breaks the game. I tried to play over the weekend. That's what I did for Friday. But holy crap. I mean, unless they keep promising dedicated servers, which will fix a lot of these problems. Because that way, the only way the game will end is if Jason quits, right? If the host quits, it'll just, it won't matter.
Servers mean.
But I could barely play this weekend. We were waiting, 15 minutes to get into a game. Then we get into a game and somebody would quit, or it would glitch out, or.
Yeah.
So I spent more time waiting to play, and then when they put out an update, they have to fix an update with another update.
Mm.
So I don't know. Hopefully they get their shit together. But next game, August or September, they had another game that came out. That made me question just how much time are you actually putting into Friday the 13th if your attention is on another game.
Mm.
And as always, we are, underestimated. It seems like the Friday the 13th fans always get the shaft in some way or another, whether it's the movie releases or on Blu-ray or whatever. It just seems like that. It's like I don't know. It's like they don't know us, or they don't want to, or they don't care. It seems like everything to do with Friday the 13th is always half-assed, and it's like how can you underestimate the popularity of this? I mean, it's like, we didn't know it was going to sell that many copies. Well, really? But you went to the trouble of acquiring the license because you knew that would sell copies? I don't know. It just seems like every company that touches this franchise is completely out of touch with the fan base. And we get tired of being jerked around. So it's not all the game's fault. We've been jerked around years prior to this, and it's just another layer of being jerked around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. And Peter, you'd mentioned what's a dedicated server. Essentially, what
I know what a server is, but I didn't know in terms of
how the game is set up now. Is there's like a host system. So if I start a game and the pregame lobby fills up on me, I'm the host. So if I back out of that game, the game just stops.
Yeah.
If it's on a dedicated server, which means we all connect to the server, not to a host, not to an individual player, we're all on that server period. And the only way there wouldn't be a host. And I guess the only way the game could end is if Jason quit, or then if Jason quit, maybe they could assign somebody else Jason.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And you'd have probably better connections overall, and just a smoother gameplay experience. So.
And that's part of the update coming out too. Like that's the other reason why I guess the move to the dedicated servers is what necessitated the new game engine or all these changes. So they're trying to do it. Yeah. I think I try to take a devil's advocate approach. Like I do, like Piz was saying, like when the game is fun, it's like the most fun thing you've ever played. Like like the way that they came up with the idea of the game and the way that the gameplay works out, I actually do think, to some extent, to maybe slightly disagree with Mike, I actually think there actually is quite a deep love of the franchise of Friday the 13th. I mean, the way they thought through the counselors, the way they're designed, the way Jason plays. There's a lot of love in that, but it's like the details. It's, you know, the devil's in the details, and it's killing it to some extent. And if they don't push out new content soon, I just think they're going to lose a lot of their fan base. There's just people they're never going to get back. It's like, why am I going to waste time on this? You know, I got a new Battlefield coming out, or a new Call of Duty, or a new Madden. Like, I'm not going to waste the time.
Well, I agree to a certain extent. I mean, when you're in a good lobby and the people are playing the game the way it should be played, and you have a good connection, and it's great. But I was talking about just kind of the cluelessness of some of the things, like with this Blu-ray set where they put, you know, a picture of an actress from the remake in there instead of something from a classic flick. You know what I mean? It's just kind of they try and they get 90% there, but there always seems to be like this little bit that they gloss over. And
I can tell you,
when it works, it's great. You know,
I mean, I could tell you a little story that sort of typifies the studio attitude. I mean, I'll say, because I worked with Paramount and New Line on the book, and there are really good people there, but most time when you go there, the people that hire to do this stuff, you know, they're working on DVDs and stuff for 5,000 other things, so they don't have a passion for it. So I remember once when they were doing the first DVD, the Chris Lake to Manhattan box set, they had us down and going over stuff, and they show us the intro to the main menu. Like, this is really cool. And then the mask comes flying out, because this was supposed to be the first 8 movies. And I'm like, that's a Jason X mask. And they had no idea they had modeled their animation for the whole menu for that box set on Jason X. So that's why when you watch that set now, you'll notice it starts like right at the eye, pops in. You don't see the full mask because they just sort of jump the animation. It's not like they just don't. No one there loved that franchise. Like, no one there had any idea, you know, what was what. So it speaks to that. You really need, I think, someone who knows the franchise. But for some reason, the studios never seem to call anyone in and say, hey, you know, we don't understand this appeal. Why don't we get someone outside to help our producers and tell us kind of what to do? But for some reason, they don't do that. They usually hire these producers that do like 10,000 other DVDs, and it's just another slot, you know, piece of product for them. So.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest insult that they added to that Blu-ray set was this trash. I mean, who wrote this garbage?
That loser.
What kind of pornography?
I didn't even keep it. I threw it out.
Well, that's another good example. So literally, we got a call, I don't know, and they said, we want to do use some Chris Lake Memories pages. So I said, of course, sure. In the box set, they send the thing that someone mocked up, and they literally just cut out pieces of the book and stuck the pages in, but the text wasn't rewritten. I'm like, this isn't going to make sense. So like, oh, well, we need this in a week. So literally I had to put that whole book together in less than a week, because otherwise it was going to be terrible. And they didn't pay me. I said, I just don't want that booklet to be like that, because people are going to like think the book is a piece of shit, because it's not going to make any sense. So, but you know, as an example, they would have put something like that in there. And so I just redid it for free.
Peter, it's not a piece of shit.
On you.
Well, I mean, if you got that little booklet and it just had cutouts of the actual book pages with text that cut, like, not, you would be like, it just wouldn't make sense, you know, like you'd be flipping through that DVD book, like, what is this? Is this, you know, postcard? I don't, you know, so I'm like, why would you put that in the, like, who thought that was so it's just very strange things like that. or you're like fans would be really mad if they bought a box set and were promised a booklet and got something like that. So
Yeah.
Peter, I just want to let you know it's not a piece of shit, and I have a 5th grade reading level. So
okay, great.
And that's kind of what I was talking about. They have no understanding of how hardcore the following for these movies, is.
Yeah.
That they just don't have a grasp on fandom, and I don't know. Have they never heard of conventions? Have they never heard of how rabid we are for this stuff? I mean, it's like it just doesn't compute. Like you said, it's just another product.
Yeah.
It's not to the extent of like Star Trek fans, but it's similar because like I'm the kind of Friday the 13th fan. I am very annoyed at how Jason's clothes are different in Jason Goes to Hell, versus like the previous, like, was it 5-6 movies? Like that shirt he got from Harold is the same shirt he's got in like Jason Takes Manhattan. And I don't know why. I appreciate that level of detail. It does annoy me that all of a sudden his clothes have seemed to have reassembled since part 7, but I digress. But it's like that it's that point that you're making. It's like the fans pay attention to that stuff. It's like the details. That's why, frankly, I think that's why part 7, which we're going to enjoy here shortly, me personally, that's not my favorite Friday, but I do like the level of attention paid to some aspects. Like if you look at the makeup of Jason's body in that movie, he has like every wound accounted for that he's earned in the previous, movies that he was in. And I just think that's like just a testament to like a certain love of the character and the franchise that they did that.
And it's not that hard to make things consistent. That's what I don't understand.
Right.
Especially, can't they keep track of which side his droopy eye's on?
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that throughout the movies it changes? It's his left eye, it's his right eye, it's his left eye, it's his right eye. Come on, guys, just watch the freaking thing. Go, oh, okay, it's that eye, and then model that.
Or two, like if you're going to make a major change, like part 2 to part 3, then to have even a line of dialogue or something like, oh, he shaved his head. Like, put an explanation in there. If you're, because we're not going to not notice that suddenly he's bald.
Yeah.
Well,
and
I can
larger overnight.
And I can tell you that shirt, that work shirt, that shirt had to be a Dickies because that brand of work shirt, that's how tough it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I will give credit to the video game makers for just a moment because I was reading something recently about how when they were designing all the Jasons, they were trying to put that level of detail into them. Like the part 6 Jason, like, has the bullet in the mask, like in the forehead, like when the sheriff shot him. And they were talking about Jason Goes to Hell Jason. And in the movie, his eye, he's missing the wrong eye. Like they're switched, which again, I'm sure we all know this. When they were modeling the character, apparently they had like very vigorous creative debates about, well, do we honor the fact that that's how he appeared in the movie, or do we fix the eye? And they ultimately decided, let's fix the eye. But the mask is the same, and so it's got the wedge in the eye that is still there. Anyway, I'm just like, again, just to give the game makers a little credit, like the fact that they had that discussion, I think is kind of cool. Yeah. Like that they cared that much to get it right.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of the title menus, I've got the Blu-ray that's got part 7 and 8 on it from this set, and for both part 7 and 8 on the title screen, they've used a part 5 mask. So they've just made the chevrons red instead of blue. So
yeah,
it's funny. But let me give a shout out to everybody who's watching tonight. We've got a nice little crew of people watching tonight. El Barto's with us, DJ Donley, Baby Herman, Josh O'Brien, Jerpin, Jason Lima, Rocky Voorhees, Max Punishment. We've got a lively chat going on. Joe Caraluzzo, the live commentator. Got a very nice, lively chat going on tonight. Hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you guys all had a great Friday the 13th. Big Ideas 3 is here. Excuse me. Joseph Purdue. So we'll go ahead and we'll get things started. If you guys are going to watch the movie along with us, unless anybody else wants to mention what they did on Friday the 13th last week, if you guys did anything special, any marathons or any murder sprees or anything you want to share, no? Okay. I did do something very special last Friday for Friday the 13th. I actually went up to New Jersey to Camp Novi Bosco, where they filmed the first Friday the 13th, which I'm going to do a whole big video about that on my YouTube channel. I shot a ton of footage. I'll edit all that together so you guys can kind of get a glimpse of what that experience was like, but it was amazing. So we'll give you guys at home a few minutes to get your copy of Friday the 13th Part 7 set up. Let's try and start like right at the very I'm guessing that different versions of the movie may have like a different start time or have different little things in the beginning. Mine actually starts with this motion picture is rated R dealy. Let's see if we can get it as close to 0.00, the very beginning of the film. That would probably be the best. So we'll give you guys a couple of minutes to get to synchronize your copies of the film. And hopefully Mike will rejoin us. I know he's having some internet issues.
Oh, Mike dropped off again. That stinks.
Yeah, he's having, Spectrum. He's having a case of Spectrum.
I was actually thinking it was Google because mine's a little jumpy today too, and I've actually had good internet for a while now.
I thought he would hardwire his system. That's a lot better. And the Wi-Fi is pretty difficult if you're not right by the modem.
Yeah.
I was going to say the hardwired connection is kind of like dedicated servers, and Wi-Fi is kind of like the host system.
Yep.
There you go. All right, guys. We'll give you guys a couple of more minutes. I'm going to grab a beverage real quick, and I will be right back.
Nice.
Sweet. So are people able to see all of us at the same time, or does he put one screen up for viewers watching right now?
I think the way that it works is he can actually decide and move it to people if he wants, because I think he's got like the control room piece. But I think just whoever's talking, it just it picks up the mic and it shows that person.
Because right now he has the Sausage Factory screen on, right? That's what people are seeing. They're not seeing us right now, right?
No, I think they're seeing us. Like if I talk, they see me. If you talk, they see you, and it'll filter over to everybody else. It's funny for just kind of to continue the conversation we had going before about the continuity. I do find it interesting, especially after reading your book, like how much Paramount didn't really seem to like Friday the 13th, even though it was making them a lot of money. There really does seem to be a lot of care put into some of the the continuity from movie to movie. Like, because parts 2, 3, and 4, and again, I know we were joking, like part 2 Jason's very different from part 3 Jason, but aside from that, like that continuity from movie to me is it's interesting in how like accurate they keep it, and particularly like part 3 to part 4.
Yeah, that's the best thing.
The switch over from those movies. I mean, the Jason is just slightly more savage, but I mean, obviously they changed actors, but you could make the case like Jason's been hurt more than he ever was, and so now he's just a little bit more animalistic, damaged. But then part 6 and part 7, I mean, even the fact that they kind of like do that intro for part 7, which by the way is like, I actually think that might be my favorite intro. I know a lot of people say like the part 4 intro that Paul starts out from part 2. I like it, but Walt Gorney's voice is just kind of like very gravelly. It's got like a cool vibe. The fact that they just put that together, I think, is interesting. That bring people up to speed.
So I feel actually bad because I don't know if you know that it's actually not Walt Gorney's voice.
It's not.
No.
Wow.
It sounds like him, but it's not. Yeah. So
IMDb must be wrong then. I think that's where I got that little tidbit.
People actually confirmed it and stuff. So I forgot who he said whose voice it is.
It sounds like a familiar voice or something. Like it's a voice I've heard.
New stuff. This guy, he's done voiceover stuff. So.
My apologies.
No, it's okay. No, a lot of people.
Bad info.
It would be great if it was, but like a lot of people think, whose voice is it? Is it Jamie Lee Curtis that's supposed to be the voice in Halloween 3? Is that it? She does.
Well, yeah, I think she's like doing like news reports or something on TV, or Well, she's also the voice on the phone. Oh yeah. She
That's
actually
right.
does a few voices in that.
Yeah.
She's like a voice on the phone, and I think she does like a news report or something, and you don't actually see her; you just hear
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. Well, now she's in
Um,
6 Halloween movies then, right? 1, 2, 3, H2O, Resurrection, and the new one, right? Yeah.
that's
So,
true. Wow, she is in more.
Yeah.
There are the new Halloween is just interesting because there's a lot of
Yeah.
people online. I think it's similar to Friday the 13th. There's like the super hardcore fans. Then I think there's the more casual fans. There are some people out there that are just very mad that they didn't get like Danielle Harris to play her daughter. Their argument, and I kind of understand, is like, listen, if you're rebooting the whole thing anyway, and it's just a sequel to the first movie, why don't you just throw us a bone and like put these two together? Like they never actually got to be on screen together, and then they retconned her out. Like it's not the same, but like do that, and they went another way. I don't know that I'm mad about it, but I think that would have been cool.
Maybe Josh Hartnett will do a cameo and show up as her son one day.
Yeah, he's not doing anything right now. I don't think.
I know. I'm curious though. I mean, the thing is, like, I was never a huge fan of the sister thing. Like, I have a problem when it seems like every franchise, Star Wars included, like suddenly everyone has to be related and everyone's someone's cousin and brother, and it's just like I don't need that. But because it's been 40 years, and I'm so used to seeing Jamie Lee Curtis as Michael Myers' brother, I don't think I can unlearn that. So even if the movie is great, when I see her next to Michael Myers, I'm still kind of thinking brother sister, even if it's hard to erase that. On the other ones, but so that's going to be interesting how that works.
And it's in my view, I agree with you, and especially like in movies now, everybody's got to be related to everybody. There's always some connection. In the case of Halloween, the only reason I give them a mulligan is that like that's how the movie begins. He killed his sister. So then you kind of add the plot contrivance, like, well, she's actually his sister too. Like, I'm willing to give them, okay, that's kind of interesting. Like, he started out killing his family. Now this is also what he's doing. I'm willing to, but I agree with you. In general, I agree with that. It's a little annoying.
Like, I remember when I saw Spectre, the James Bond movie, and suddenly like all the other James Bond, Daniel Craig movies were linked.
Exactly.
Like, really? I'm not buying this.
I don't understand. It's this thing where it's like, why can't James Bond just go out there and stop some like world-ending threat? Why does he have to be related to the threat? Like, think of all the James Bond movies that came before, where it's like some guy was going to put a laser in space or blow up a volcano or whatever all that weird stuff was. It's like, no, that wasn't James Bond's second cousin. Like, that wasn't like his dad's, drinking buddy. It's like, no, he's an agent for, Britain, and he needs to go and stop these people. Like, why does it have to be more involved than that?
And then when you retcon stuff like that, when you go back and watch it, it's so clear that the movies weren't made intentionally to do that. And it's just, there's usually full of holes. Like, it's just, unless you can instruct it that way, even, it's difficult. Like, even in
Halloween's case, it works though, because he does seem to be like obsessed with her. And you could make the case he's just obsessed with her anyway. Like, he doesn't have to be related to her.
Although one thing I figured out is at the beginning of Halloween 1, then, where is Jamie Lee Curtis? So she's a baby, right? So, like, why is she not in her crib in the house? Where is she?
I thought she wasn't born until after. Like, maybe his mom was pregnant.
Okay.
Like, the Rob Zombie movies are the ones that had it where, like, the baby was already there.
Yeah.
But in the original movie, I always took it to be, and I think they even make when the nurse is like giving the big mythology download to Donald Pleasance.
She was born 2 years before the sister was killed, and then she was adopted 2 years after. So that would mean that Jamie Lee was around for 2 years after Judith died. So, like, before they.
Oh, she does say that.
Yeah,
you're right. She does say that.
But before they hide the file, so Loomis can't find it. But I'm like, well, what was Loomis doing for 2 years? Like, wouldn't he have known that Jamie Lee was around? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But I'm probably analyzing it too. I don't know.
Well, yeah, maybe. I'd have to go back and look at that dialogue because I want to remember what the nurse says.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Is all this is in Halloween too, right?
Yeah.
Carpenter was drunk when he wrote that whole thing.
True.
He was drunk the whole time.
Yeah.
So, we were having that discussion of the new Halloween before we started the show. So I guess you guys kind of picked that up and ran with it a little bit.
Well, we were just kind of talking about. I was just mentioning how some of the hardcore Halloween fans out there are a little mad that they just didn't get Danielle Harris to be Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter in the movie. And then we just kind of started on talking about how, there's just this trend in movies, which again started long ago, long before now, but everybody's related to everybody. Like, and again, Peter's example was Spectre, and I too was really annoyed that it's like, it can't just be Blofeld. No, Piz, he's his secret brother. Like, what? Like, everybody's got to be related. It's I don't understand that trend, but
it's the Luke, I'm your father thing. Yeah. But yeah, I wonder if, and not to get off on a whole other thing here, but I wonder if Danielle Harris had not been in the Rob Zombie Halloweens, would they maybe have gone to her to be?
I don't know.
I can understand why they didn't. You know what I mean? But it's not going to dissuade me from watching that movie in any way. So.
Yeah, I'm not like I think it would have been cool if they'd done it, but it isn't like a backbreaker for me. I have much bigger concerns about what this movie's going to be. The casting for Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter is not high on my list.
Right. Is Rambo Raff? Is he coming back? Does anybody know?
Huh. I think he stepped away right when you did. So I'm not sure if maybe he's taking a quick break or drink siesta or something like that.
Well, we'll give him a minute, see what's going on out in the chat. Mr. McNugget, our buddy Andrew's watching with us tonight. How are you doing, Andrew? Hope you had a good Friday the 13th last week. We got some World Cup discussion going on in the chat too.
Mr. McNugget is one of the funniest players to play with on Friday the 13th. I have to say, by the way.
Yeah. Mr. McNugget's a good guy. Good. He says he's doing well. That's good.
Okay.
Peter, I do have a question, and clearly you were being you're trying to keep it low key, so you can't reveal specifics. But when you were talking about the Friday the 13th show, you mentioned like another network is interested. You mentioned CW just didn't go to pilot with it.
Yeah, I think it was CW. I could be wrong on that, but it's one of those.
It was CW. It was CW.
Yeah.
Can you at least say if the other network involved would like allow for more like extreme content?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, actually, yes, it would, because networks now have streaming other platforms, so it would be one of those offshoots of a thing. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Interesting. Okay. No, I know exactly what you mean.
Okay.
That was my concern about CW.
Yeah, no.
Is that if it's on CW, like it can only first of all, Supernatural gets pretty violent, like a lot of blood, a lot of guts, but still, Friday the 13th needs like a hard PG-13 at worst, R if we're doing it right.
Yeah.
What's funny now is you watch like Jason Lives and it seems like a PG-13 movie.
Yeah. Give us a refresher course. What was the pitch for the series? I mean, what was the plot? Do we even know?
I've gotten a little bit of it. The idea was it is a town. It's more about the town. It's called the Crystal Lake Chronicles. It's about the area around Crystal Lake and the legend of Jason and those characters. It has to be. It's not Jason killing someone every week. So the idea is that this was a real place. They made a bunch of movies on a real life incident, but this is the real world that the movies sort of like Stab Scream. So it's like if you were watching the Stab movies and then it came out with a movie called Scream, which was about this is the original murder that all the Stab movies were based on, kind of thing. That makes sense.
Got it. So it's like technically it's in our world.
Yes.
Like Jason actually is real.
Yes.
And these movies are okay. Got it.
And then they made these movies that we all know and love. Yeah. So
interesting. Okay.
That could be interesting. And the other network is the Disney Channel, right?
Yeah, totally. Yes, Family Channel. What's the other one? Freeform? Is that what it's called? But yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know. That's all I know. Like, I don't think there was. I don't know anything about like characters or anything like that. But yeah, there's no way they can make it like a Jason kills someone every week kind of show. So
yeah.
But it's not a cursed goods kind of store either. So like this old TV series. Remember the anthology?
Yeah. I don't think I was hoping for like a Jason kills someone every week, but I don't know. I think I was hoping for something like if you only did like a season of maybe like 10 episodes, maybe you could like create kind of like each season is a movie kind of an idea. And like, so, maybe Jason doesn't kill someone every episode, but it's like, if a movie's like an hour and a half and it's usually everybody getting together, we meet them, they go to the camp, things start happening. Like, why couldn't that just evolve over a season?
Well, probably they want to keep the movie series going, so that's probably it too. Like, if you have Jason, this is they would be independent. So it's because like it's not Friday the 13th the series. So
I did a live stream where I talked to Vincente DeSanti, who directed the Never Hike Alone fan film, and he had a really cool idea where he was like, what if they did like a thing on Netflix where they had do five movies on Netflix, but they wouldn't necessarily have to be like the next Friday the 13th. They could be like here's Jason X Part 2. Or here is, here's the movie that connected Jason Takes Manhattan and Jason Goes to Hell. Here's the in between. Here's how Jason got back to Crystal Lake from Manhattan. Here's just these little movies. You spend, you keep the budgets low. You hire, up and coming people to write and direct them, and this is how you kind of, instead of trying to go big or trying to do some kind of, exploring the relationship between Mrs. Voorhees and her son in a film, to do something like that. I thought that was a really interesting
that would be cool.
idea.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really cool
Catch
idea.
up with like Tommy Jarvis, like after part 6 or something.
Yeah. Or even like Never Hike Alone Part 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That follows, the Tom Matthews, Tommy Jarvis, and the survivor Never Hike Alone as they, go back to, finish off Jason or something. I don't know. But, there's just a ton of ideas. Let's see what Tina's been up to in the intervening years. Let's we can see, the Tom Matthews, Tommy Jarvis, who's married to what was the woman's name from Part 6?
Megan.
How
Megan.
they do Megan, yeah. I mean, there's just a ton of possibilities that you could do there that I think would just be, great fan service and just really fun.
Yeah.
Hold on. I have the idea. Here we go. Creighton Duke origin story.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Well, there you go. Yeah. And then we discover that Creighton Duke is actually Reggie the Reckless.
Yes. Awesome.
I would spend $50 to see that movie.
Yes.
I would spend a lot of money. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Creighton Duke can avenge Demon's death, right?
Exactly. At the end of the film, after Creighton Duke has killed Jason, he's standing over Demon's grave. a single tear rolls down his cheek and he goes, a single tear rolls down his cheek and he goes, I got him for you, cousin. And he puts a burrito. He puts an
enchilada
on the grave.
See, I was hoping for a scene in a Mexican restaurant eating enchiladas, but that I think would be more impactful. That's true.
I got him for you, cousin.
I've actually, it's funny, like along that line of thinking, I've always thought it would be interesting if they would do some sort of a Halloween spin-off or just like one-off to explore like the conclusion of the Cult of Thorn arc.
Yeah.
And my recollection is they were going to do a comic book about that. And then I think it got canceled or they ran out of money or something happened. Cause like I used to go to like a comic book shop near my house and I had been buying like the Halloween comic series they'd had going on at the time. And they told me, and they even showed me like art of the cover. It was like a picture of like the Halloween 5 looking Michael in front of the Myers house. And it was like titled like Halloween Cult of Thorn. And it was supposed to be that. It was supposed to be like a more in-depth look at that and then give you like some post Halloween 6 content. And then it just went away. Like it kept getting pushed back, and it went away. But anyway, my point is, I realize that's not everybody's favorite storyline, but I don't know, like along your line of thinking, like, Jason X Part 2, like who really wants to see that? Like, I don't know. I'd watch it. I think that would be interesting. Just like I think that might be interesting to kind of, if you get just some interested filmmaker, writer to do that, I think people would buy that. I actually think that would be successful.
Yeah,
I agree. Well, guys, let's go ahead and let's get the live commentary started. Let's watch some Friday the 13th Part 7.
Yes, sir.
Mike, Orc, are you guys there?
I'll
Fucking
be
chilling
out
there,
all
bruh.
night, but yeah, I'm here.
All right, guys, let's rock and roll. I'm going to count down from 3, and then we'll get things started. All right, in 3, 2, 1, and here we go. Now, this was the very first Friday the 13th that I ever saw. So this little opening here with the dudes, letting us know everything, filling us in, was like, oh my God, I was so hyped. So hyped.
yeah. This is
Actually, while you were gone, Piz, Peter corrected me. It's not Walt Gorney doing this narration. He's not sure who it is, but I guess he's confirmed that it's not.
Yeah.
IMDb led me astray.
I've always heard that it was him.
It's not him. No, John Carl Baker confirmed that it's not. It's a different actor. I forgot the actor's name. It's someone not famous, but a well-known voice. I can find out. But
Oh, cool.
yeah.
I'm watching it on Amazon, and if you watch like Amazon on your computer, it'll show you like little trivia bits. Just as a note, and again, I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're the correct source. It did just say Walt Gorney is doing the opening narration. So I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, this is what John Carl Baker said. He said it again a few weeks ago to the screening. He's like, no, it's not. So I'll take his word for it. But
Wow.
Absolutely.
But great narration here. I love this opening montage. Is just fantastic.
it's also interesting because I'm so used to seeing all the old footage with the Harry Manfredini music. To hear and see clips with a different score is very interesting.
Yeah.
I actually like this music. I think this goes well with this opening kind of recap.
Exploding tombstone.
I even like the kind of like tight way that they cut together like the story of Friday the 13th Part 6.
Yeah.
Like it's just a very efficient way to tell that story.
Get people up to speed.
I also think it's interesting that they felt like the way the movie's even titled The New Blood. Like this is in reference to the fact that like the last 3 movies have been all kind of based around the character of Tommy Jarvis in some sense. I think it's interesting for people who didn't, a studio that didn't care that much about these movies, that they would go to the effort of sort of saying that story's now over. This is a new story.
Yeah. I think Frank Mancuso Jr. came up with that subtitle, if I'm not mistaken, at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Val Curtis sat around and tried to come up with titles. He came up with A New Beginning as well. That was him. And then
you mean the finest of the Friday sequels?
There you go. And then I know Tom McLaughlin originally wanted Part 6 to be called Jason's Last Rites, but Paramount vetoed it and made it Jason Lives because they said it was too religious. It would offend people, like Jesus is. Yeah. So
I'm offended.
Yeah, you should be.
Triggered.
I don't know. I was a Friday the 13th veteran by the time this came out, and I when I first saw it, I couldn't help but think, "Jump the shark." It's like, okay, they finally run out of ideas, so let's bring in other kids. And I know this was originally supposed to be Freddy vs. Jason, which would have been great. This would have been the best time for it. Robert Englund was in his prime. You had Kane Hodder in his prime. The audience was ready for it. Both series were, you couldn't have had a better time. But Jason versus Carrie at the time was kind of a letdown. I have grown to love this film over time, of course. I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. But at first, I wasn't my favorite.
I always kind of liked how this sort of subverted the other movies in some sense. Given the context you lay out there, Mike, I'm totally with you. But I think there's another angle on it where it's like this sort of subverts the concept of it's always that final girl who always kind of just barely manages to kill Jason by like the skin of her teeth. She's usually pretty clever. I sort of like that Jason has a real match here. Like Tina is Jason's equal to some extent, that she can actually match like toe to toe with him. And in a franchise that's entering part 7, I think any new element you can add brings something to it. And I just always thought that part was kind of cool.
I thought it was cool what John Carl Beaker did in the final fight, because you see Jason getting pissed off. Like he's like,
yeah.
All right,
he's like frustrated. Like, and Kane Hodder really brings that home. I think
it's how I feel when I play Friday Night the game and I can't kill the counselors.
Do you have any idea who Manuel Fidelio, the other writer, was?
No one will tell me. It's a fake name, so
yeah,
I rewrote it. So yes, no one will spill the beans. So
that's interesting. I'd like to know who that was.
No one's come forward to claim that credit. So.
Wow.
But I agree with you guys. I like the design of Jason. I think this movie is very well shot. I think the MPAA, of course, didn't know justice. There was no love shown. I've seen at a convention the parts that they cut out, and it would have been really cool had they, just left it intact. But
I do think this movie is harmed the most by MPAA of any of the Friday teams.
Definitely.
Yeah,
without doubt.
Well, because there's like some of the cuts just like end. It's like Jason starts to do something and it just jumps.
Yeah, it's really jarring. I remember seeing the theater opening weekend, and you could kind of hear the crowd going, "Oh," like they were getting annoyed that they weren't seeing it. Like, "Oh, somebody goes, oh," like especially what's his name, Weekend at Bernie's guy when he gets the stomach, I think some big kill. Yeah,
He was a fool that deserved a glorious death, and it didn't really happen.
Oh yeah,
right? And the practical effects in this film. I mean, before CGI, I think they really pulled off the whole telekinesis bit, and blowing up the house for real. I mean, there's so many elements in this film that really stand out as great, and I find sorely missing in today's horror.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though this is the 7th film, right? You're talking about the 7th film of a franchise doing things better than most modern horror films. That's pretty sad.
Yeah. Do you remember what your
practical
initial reaction was to the film, Peter, when you first saw it?
Sorry, what?
Do you remember what your initial reaction was to the film when you first saw it?
Yeah, I saw it twice in the theater. Back when you were a kid, you can see things over and over again. I mean, I did feel it was a little chopped. I liked it. Honestly, I liked it a lot more when I was younger, and then as I get older, I can see how quickly it was made, and there's some plot holes. So, but I definitely feel like I'm glad they took a character like Tina and made you empathize with someone again. I like the final battle stuff. I thought maybe there's too many teenagers in the middle. That it's that like when they start introducing people camping that have nothing to do with the other people. Yeah. Part 5 does that too. Like I prefer to have a smaller group of people that you try longer. But that's my kind of big disappointment is when these later movies, like you have 22 people getting killed and it's just a little too much. But.
Yeah. 22 people getting killed in like an 88-minute movie.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a Frank Mancuso thing though? I thought somebody had like a mandate, like there needs to be a kill like every like 2.5 minutes or something like that.
Maybe we didn't start until maybe part 5 because you watch the early one with maybe final chapter, but I mean that's why a lot of people find the early ones slow. I mean, you watch, well, Halloween has like 3 people only get killed. It's like nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's why part 4 is so well regarded though. Is that like you really come to know and like that group of characters, even though some of them are kind of jerky. Like they're friends with each other. You kind of get to know a little bit of their story. So like when Jason starts kind of like cutting into them, you feel a sense of dread about it because it's like, well, I kind of like these guys.
Well, that's the story behind this one because the original concept was way different. And then Frank Mancuso Jr. said to Daryl Haney, the writer, he's like, final chapter is the best one. Kind of replicate that. And you can see that with the kids, like the way they're partying and stuff. That feels like the final chapter, everyone in the same house.
Yeah.
Partying, that kind of stuff. So you can see a little bit of that.
It's just missing all the character.
Yeah.
they're partying. It's just we don't know who any of them are.
Well, even like final chapter, like Axel, like even though he's just a minor character, the two hospital people, at least that's important because Jason gets out of the morgue and but like some of the later ones, like this someone wandering through the forest and you never met for 2 minutes and they get killed. It's like, well, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like those 2 guys in part 5 who are just like the car breaks down. Just these random guys in the woods.
Greasers, from Greece.
Those guys are pretty memorable though.
Yeah, sure.
Come on, motherfucker.
Well, that's the sound of cocaine talking. That's what that is. Jesus Christ.
How close did they come to actually making this Freddy versus Jason before they parted ways, New Line and Paramount?
Well, so they couldn't. It stalled at the rights. Like a New Line felt like Freddy's still too big. Like and that's true. Like at that time, Nightmare on Elm Street was going up in receipts, and Freddy was going down. So they never even got to the script stage. However, I do have the script that was written first for this movie. And I kid you not, it's supposed to be like Jaws. There's this condo development being opened up, and they don't want to stop it. And Jason comes back, and there's like a helicopter. It's ridiculous. That's when Frank Mancuso said, we got to go back and look at Final Chapter and copy that. But they did like the idea of the telekinetic girl, so he added that in. So I can send you guys the script. It's called Jason's Destroyer. It's pretty funny.
So was it that it was silly, or was it too big?
Well, it's like a condo development at Crystal, like trying to be trying to have adult, like you can't make this serious. Like it's almost like not a Jason movie anymore. It's just like teenagers don't want to see that. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to see a bunch of middle-aged people opening a condo development on Crystal Lake? I don't know, it's just weird. So
yeah.
I actually think I'd be interested in that, but I'm not a kid anymore.
Well, the characters, like, when you read it, like that concept, but like the characters are all like you almost have like a Murray Hamilton. We're gonna close the beaches, it's a little weird, and like Jason in the helicopter and stuff. It's just a little weird. So
he was actually in the helicopter.
Well,
okay.
I remember like they were attacking us, whatever, and there's a scene at the end with everything being constructed and it's a helicopter attacking. It's just I don't know. You can't take it that far away, from it. But it's been a while since I read it, but it's a hoot.
I've read a number of interviews with Daryl Haney, who's the writer, and he had a very interesting, including the one in your book, Peter. He had a very interesting process of writing this script and dealing with Barbara Sachs, and he's very comical in how he describes his relationship with her and stuff. Yeah.
He's hilarious. So he's one of the dreams when you interview someone. He's like a dream because he's right away. He's like, don't worry, I'll tell you everything. I'm not going to hold back. I'll tell you all the shit. And okay. That was awesome. But it wasn't a great experience for him as a writer. So he didn't like John Carl Beaker much either. So.
Yeah. You definitely get that impression from
yes.
the book. Yeah. Was there anything he told you that was too salacious to go into the book?
I don't know. I pretty much put everything he's I mean, just some
waste it.
Just some some of the people go on and on. Like you kind of say the thing once. So if someone keeps coming back to the same thing, that guy was a dick, or I hated him. You don't need him to say it 10 times. So you kind of cut that. But it was pretty clear quickly he wasn't a big fan of John Carl Beaker, so I kind of just left it as like one thing and didn't leave all the insults in there. So.
It's interesting because like part 6, part 7, and part 8 all have because the first few movies are no adults around at all, so it's always just like these kind of vulnerable kids out confronted with Jason. They have to survive. But like part 6, 7, and 8 all feature this like sort of like aggressive, like domineering parental type character. And again, Dr. Cruz isn't a parental character necessarily, but he is like that sort of almost a separate villain. You know what I mean? Because like part 8 has the like her step or whatever, her uncle or whatever. I think that's kind of interesting that like all these movies kind of have that kind of template character.
Yeah, it is. This one's interesting. And another thing too, I don't know if you guys ever noticed like the plot holes in this movie. There's some really glaring stuff. Sometimes.
Well, like some of it seems obvious, but like what are you referring to?
Well, like when she first sees the spike on the door after she resurrects Jason, or she sees the brother or whatever who's coming to the party get killed with the spike, and then she runs and sees the spike in the wall, and then she runs and then she tells them, and then we found out later that he planted the spike. Well, how could he have planted the spike when she hadn't told him the story yet? She sees the spike before she tells him the story. So that kind of stuff, and but as a kid I didn't notice that.
One thing I've always really liked about this movie is Laura Park Lincoln. I think she does a really good job And even with that dishwater hair, I've always thought she was pretty. You know what I mean?
They couldn't afford a conditioner. Well,
Yeah. Always thought she was pretty too.
Yeah. I love Melissa. She's a great character.
Yeah. Now, is she? There was rumors that she had passed away. Is she alive or is she?
That I tried to reach out to her. She couldn't do the interview. She was not well when I reached out to her, so she was never included. But I didn't hear anything after that. The documentary, the people who made the documentary, they claim that they contacted her family and they said she's deceased. But then someone on Facebook created Facebook for her, but it's not really her. It's someone else running that page, posting pictures. So I don't know if they're saying she's. I honestly don't know though for sure. But apparently they have an obituary for her and everything. So I don't know. It was leukemia. She was sick when I contacted her, so that's why she wasn't able to do it. So
that's too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, Peter.
We're all roughly at the resurrection scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So the movie is awesome. Sorry to cut you off, Bruce. But the movie's awesome. But I need to spice up the memes a little bit. Okay. Have you gotten really bad hate fan mail and people who hate your stuff and really dislike what you do, and you just laugh it off? What do you do? Do you have any stories that you could do you have any haters is basically what I'm saying.
Me or
yes. Yes.
I don't. I have not got any hate mail. There is one cast member who wasn't too happy with what people said about them in the book, but that's the closest I have. I've never gotten a piece of hate mail. But then I don't
get something in the mail that said you're all doomed later, and you're like, oh my god, no.
Well, I get people writing, asking for free copies of the book, and I have to tell them no, and then they never write me again. But it's
because they're annoying me.
No,
I just can't imagine why you'd get hate mail. I mean, your book kind of told a bunch of things that people hadn't heard. If anything, you're a national treasure, Peter Bracke.
I think the directors got more hate mail. Rob Hedden, there's that one in the book. We talked about getting hate mail. One guy said he should chop his dick off and stuff. And,
wow.
To be honest, the book actually made me respect Rob Hedden a lot more because you read that section and he just seems like nothing but apologetic. I really wish I'd fought more. I really wish we could have done all these other things. And you really just get the sense of kind of a young director, a little bit, I don't want to say out of his element because I don't think he was necessarily, but he didn't seem like he didn't feel like he had the wherewithal to push back on the studio for some of the things he thought were important. And so he just compromised a bunch, and then you've got Jason running around Vancouver for most of the movie.
He really did try, and it's a great concept, but I can understand too when you're on this and they keep whittling it down. It's well, it's your first movie. If you leave, you're never going to work again. So you do the best you can.
Right.
Right. But
who was the actor that was upset with the things people were saying about him?
I'm not going to say. But if you're going to no, I'll skip it. But
what chapter should I look for the hint?
Part 7. It was a part 7.
Okay.
So you might be able to guess. So, well, yeah, it's a funny, but that happens, sometimes people see things in print and, but I was surprised only one. The number of people I talked to and stuff and the other things in the book, it's actually a miracle to me that only one person was kind of I didn't.
Well, didn't you say Danny Steinman got a little pissed off at some of the things people said about him in the book too?
Yeah, but he didn't get mad at me. He wasn't
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I did interview him again before he passed away for the ebook. Has some new stuff on him. He does comment. I added a comment in where he responds to what everyone says near the end of the chapter. And I did feel bad because he's it is really hard to hear that he's I'm portrayed as this coke-fueled madman on the set, and
that's really cool though. I'm glad a lot of the fans really enjoy your stuff, and you don't really get any hate mail. That makes me pretty happy because I could picture someone contacting you and being like, "You little asshole! I was making Crystal Lake nostalgia. I was making Crystal Lake nostalgia, and you fucked everything up. You suck!" And they're just raging.
I kind of wish I did. I want a stalker. I feel like I haven't arrived until someone stalks me.
I mean, this show gets hate mail.
There, Peter.
Really? You guys get hate mail? Do you guys really?
Sure.
It depends.
Yeah, we got called a bunch of liberal cucks at one point.
There's an entire person whose like whole profile what Cole is gay. I don't know if that's a joke profile or not, but who's that? Isn't that his name? Cole is gay.
That's the guy's name.
Yeah, and so it's like
There's-
entirely to insult Cole. I mean,
there are amazing people who watch the show because they have amazing Photoshop skills. Like, I mean, top notch. These guys should be working for like the government. They got skills. Yeah,
yeah.
That's good.
I did want to mention one thing that I just thought like is interesting about these later movies that like kind of gets lost in the subsequent sequels is I do think there's a kind of audience excitement around like Jason's resurrection. Like, so like part 6, part 7, part 8, like you go into the movie, Jason was killed the previous movie, you know he's dead, but I always think it's kind of exciting to see like what they were going to do to bring him back.
Yeah.
Because I remember I had organized like a big event that I had done like with a bunch of my friends who'd never seen these movies. So we were watching them all the way through. And I remember emphasizing to them, like after part 4, like Jason's dead now. That doesn't mean he can't come back, but like you need to understand, like he was killed, he did die. So like if we see him again, he's have to be resurrected. And I just remember like everybody like laughing and groaning, like when Tommy's like stabbing him and it like the lightning strikes it. And then even in this movie, like I just think it's cool how like it's an event in the movie, like Jason's resurrection. In part 8, it's kind of lame, but it's an interesting thing here that like in the later sequels, like Freddy vs. Jason. Actually, that one he kind of does have a resurrection, but like in Jason Goes to Hell, he's just there.
Yeah.
Jason X, he's just there. I think that's just kind of cool, like to see the random way they're gonna have him like come back.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they underestimate that, like how much fans like that. Part 6 was cool that way because that was like the big scene. You know, that was part 8, I was a little disappointed in that. Like, you know, a little bit more dramatic would have been cool.
Yeah.
Like that one, it's just like an accident.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just kind of like, oh, this boat just happened to be going by and it gets him. At least in the case of Tommy, like he's screwing around with things he shouldn't be, and it's almost like destiny that Jason comes back. In this one too, it's like Tina's messing around, she shouldn't be doing what she's doing, and she brings Jason back. In part, it's like just some horny couple are like floating on the lake, and the guy acts his anchor, like you know, drags the power cable over, like it loses something.
And Jason just kind of comes out of the water like he's waiting for it, like, okay, I'm back. Like,
I guess he's like, I gotta kill these people again.
Yeah. Fuck.
Just let me die.
Yeah.
Now I did have the great fortune of going to a convention that they had a part 5 reunion, and they did a cast panel, and I asked everyone to describe Danny Steinman in one word.
Oh no!
And they all had very, very nice things to say about Danny.
Okay. Even Melanie Kinnaman.
Wow. I think that she said the one word was challenging, and she left it at that.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Left it at that.
Maybe because he's dead. Maybe they didn't feel like stomping on the guy's grave.
Well, challenging.
It might have been different when Peter was interviewing because like he was alive at the time.
Yeah, he was sick too. Well, no one really knew what happened to him because he never made a movie after that, and most of
Go figure.
But honestly, what happens is people don't always say stuff, and then one person says something, then you go back and you say, "Oh, well, what about you kind of mentioned that," and then they say, "Oh, okay." So you just have to wait for that one person who's going to spill the beans, and then everyone starts talking.
Yeah.
So is that your job, Peter? Your professional shit stirrer? Is that what you do?
There you go. That's it. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah. Boy. Yeah, I remember doing the interviews and just my mouth dropping, like the part 5 stuff. So the first when it really started was the stories about the first day of shooting the sex scene with Danny Steinman, and hearing everyone saying, I remember just going, holy shit, like, this is crazy. Like I wasn't expecting that. And
it's interesting because you watch that scene and everybody loves that scene because Debbie Sue Voorhees is, gorgeous and enhanced. But like that's really all. Like it's really just a nude scene. So to think that there's actually like a version of that was more like a sex scene, like some sort of graphic softcore sex scene, like you wouldn't get that impression from what you see in the movie. Like it's like over in like 10 seconds.
Totally. I think it's sorry, Danny's behavior off camera that rattled people. Very.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
Deborah Sue Voorhees had very nice things to say about him too, but it's funny because my girlfriend refers to Debbie Voorhees as the booby woman. Um, I'd posted a bunch of stuff on Facebook about my trip to the camp, and she had liked it and said like, "Oh, that's awesome" or something in a comment, and my girlfriend was like, "The booby woman commented on your pictures."
Oh,
So
she's so sweet. Does she have a Facebook page now?
she has a
She has a
Facebook
Facebook
page,
group,
and
yeah.
she has a Facebook group too. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's very, very sweet, very, very sweet. I got to meet Junior and Ethel, and that was like one of the highlights of my life.
Oh yeah, they're hilarious.
You're kidding me.
Yes,
man.
yes, they were awesome. They were awesome.
Yeah. I do like in the video game that they created in the new Part 5 map. There is the Ethel and
Junior and Ethel South. Yep.
yes, that's cool.
See, for me, it's like a double-edged sword. I do like that, and I'm excited by it. But there's no outhouse for
Yeah.
like I was
Someone's
looking
band,
for that,
yeah.
and it's not there.
Yeah, Demon's Band would have been cool.
That's sad. Here's these two just out in the woods randomly to have sex,
Yes,
and
totally.
yeah.
But we do get the sleeping bag kill, so that's good.
Yes, that's the great.
That's true.
Yeah, we do get 2 nice kills. So I mean, it was worth it. It was worth it.
Well, it's funny because they shot this movie really late in the year, so you can see everyone's breath coming out. You can tell it was totally
Yeah.
freezing.
Yeah.
Is this the one that's filmed in like Arkansas? Like this is like south somewhere, right?
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
The swamps out there, near the swamps.
Mm.
But they had an alligator wrangler, so literally was a guy off camera like keeping alligators away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this movie is also very memorable because, of course, I mean, it introduced the world to, Kane Hodder as Jason.
Yeah.
Wasn't it true that they were just going to hire C.J. Graham to play Jason again, and Beekler was like, no, you got to check out this dude.
Yeah, he went to bat for Kane. I think if no one said anything, they probably would have went back to CJ. But yeah, it definitely was Beekler. I think too, he wanted someone who could also be a stunt coordinator because Kane, is a stunt.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just stunt man. So that was a big part of it. Because Kane's also the stunt coordinator on the movie. I think it's kind of a cool.
As much as
goes to the back. So.
oh yeah, just punching through him. Yeah.
One thing I'm noticing about this Blu-ray, and this is the first time I'm watching Part 7 on the Blu-ray, is how dark it is. Now, whenever I've seen this film in the past on VHS and the DVD, it's very bright, the night scenes, like almost like it's a soap opera. It's very dark on this Blu-ray. I wonder if they went in and that's the tint from Part 4, by the way.
I know. That always bothered me even as a kid. I'm like, really? You're reusing the shot? Like we're not going to notice? Like again, diehard fans knows that.
Yeah. But yeah, I wonder if they've gone in here and corrected it on this Blu-ray, made it a little dark because it's much darker on this Blu-ray.
It's probably better if it's a little darker.
Yeah. It definitely looks a lot better. Yes, darker. Absolutely.
You guys seen the original uncut version, like on the DVD?
Yeah. Yeah. Just smashes her. Yeah, a million times. Yeah.
It kind of actually does work a little better with less, because it becomes funny when you wax them like 10 times.
Yeah.
It's actually more chilling this way.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm seeing that right now. Just keep smacking her.
Yeah.
There's footage put out by the by Ilphonic or again whoever the video game guys of Kane doing the mocap for that kill in the video game, and it's funny because you like there's audio, so like you can hear what he's saying, and he's like psyching himself up into it. It's like, come on, motherfucker, like, fuck, just get it. It's like, fuck, and he's like screaming, and then he's like, I gotta do one more. He's like terrifying. And like that's Kane Hodder. That's not Jason. Like just the guy is terrifying.
He takes it seriously, man. He takes it seriously.
He does.
I'm really looking forward to seeing that documentary from Hellenbach about him. That looks really interesting.
Oh, I know there was a book. He had an autobiography, right?
Yeah. Well, they've done a documentary, a full-on documentary about him. Yeah.
Yeah, the interviews with John Carl Beekler, Bruce Campbell, Robert England, Felissa Rose. So on there's a trailer for it. It's called To Hell and Back.
Oh, cool. All right.
And Kane Hodder, the bit he tells the story of how he got burned in the trailer bit that they showed on YouTube. But it's interesting, the documentary.
Yeah, it does. Now I understand that these two did not get along very well on the set, Kevin Blair and Lar Park Lincoln.
Oh, yeah, they just didn't. Yeah, it was tough, and I mean, she was under a lot of pressure, a lot of intensity, and trying to focus. So the chemistry just wasn't working. So yeah, I don't know why some people just don't get along. I mean, nothing major happened. Like there was no like big incident, or anything, but.
This definitely seems like one of the most forced of the relationships in the like they just I don't know. There's just nothing between them that seems to click.
There's no
like even
there's no chemistry between any of the people in this movie.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, because most of the men are gay, so that's part of it.
Right.
Well, 5 of the male cast members are gay, so there you go.
I don't know. I kind of like the chemistry between like the rich guy and his girlfriend, like the way they snipe at each other. I don't know. Maybe they're just funny. I don't know if that's chemistry.
And there's the bothead guy, and although I couldn't find the rich guy. I don't know what happened. Larry Cox. I don't know where he is in the documentary. We couldn't find him. So yeah, no idea. Problem is a name like Larry Cox. There's a million of them in the country, so it's hard to.
Yeah. And of course, that could have been just a screen name too. So
yeah, sure. I'm just far less Lar Park Lincolns in the world, so a little easier to find.
Yeah.
It's funny just because the parts of your book talking about how like the part 8 chapter made me feel sympathy for Rob Hedden. I felt the same about like the chapter for and I forget the director's name of Jason X, who I think he also passed away.
Jim
Isaacs.
Yes.
Jim, so I also felt sympathy for him. The chapter I came away feeling even angrier than I did originally was the Jason Goes to Hell chapter. Like the way that like that director, like he's like completely unapologetic about it, and even like just stands like steadfastly behind his decisions, which
I love it.
I can respect.
That's
I can
my
respect
favorite
conviction.
one. So I love it.
I can respect.
That's my favorite one, so I love it. I look forward to that documentary on Jason Goes to Hell. I look forward to it.
I don't know. I can respect his conviction, but it's like everything you put in that chapter, like everything he says, it's like it seemed like every instinct he had was the wrong instinct. Like I don't know.
I love his
it just felt to me.
For part 9, I'm like, go for it, man. I have a guy naked, tied down, for whatever reason. Yeah. Stephen Williams talking about hot dogs through donuts. I'm for it.
I don't know. Any franchise built around a character like Jason Voorhees, to have him in your movie less than like 15 minutes seems like a mistake.
Well, that's more than the first one. So,
well, there's a point.
Yeah.
Right, Jason Goes There was the first one I saw, but even then, they even care. I think like the lead guy, at least he has something. And maybe because I like Friday the 13th movies, but to me they're like cheeseburgers. Like, I know they're not good for me, but they're still fun. And like Halloween is sort of like the more pretentious folks that kind of look down. But Friday the 13th they're just fun. That's why like when he went in space, I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
I think the makers of Halloween Resurrection would be glad to hear they're pretentious.
But
Busta Rhymes must like his cheeks must be turning red at that compliment.
Well, it is Busta, so there you go.
Yeah. Michael Myers is in a soundbite. There you go.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
that sounded almost like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Hey, I'm down for that. There you go. That's the next 10 years down.
I kind of like how like her pearls just like lift from her neck and like explode, and nobody seems like oh, okay, interesting. Like nobody seems alarmed about it.
Yeah, watch out for those pearls where you buy them. Those trick pearls.
Totally. Another thing about this movie is like there's all these scenes where someone's always running in from somewhere else, from the woods or for going out. Like everyone just constantly running in and out of places. Very, very
Yeah.
interesting. The most uncaring doctor ever.
Yes.
Was
Bad news
Terry
critters.
Kaiser? Did you get to interview him? I can't remember if he was in the book.
No, he's not. He was not able to do documentaries. He's a little older now, so he said his memory wasn't so good. So
he's now on the convention scene, so his memory was improved.
Reach out again, yeah.
Yeah, he's on the
I thought he
convention scene.
died.
No, he's on the convention scene. You can't keep Bernie dead.
He's got to be old. I mean, how old is he here? He's got to be in his 80s now. Is he 50?
I've seen.
He's probably 40s at the youngest in this,
Yeah,
but 50s probably.
He doesn't look that old in the pictures that I've seen of him at conventions. So, may not be a bad idea to reach out to him. I actually know the guy. I actually know his manager, so I might be able to facilitate that. Hopefully,
that'd be great. And yeah, we're definitely add him in. It'll be interesting if we ever do live commentaries for 8, 9, and 10 and the remake.
Well,
I like the remake. I think I might be one of the few who do of this group, but I don't know. I think I like the remake. I like what they tried to do with it.
Well, in my opinion, it's all downhill after 6. With increasing speed.
I have fun with the remake. Whatever the hell. I mean, it's a remake. Whatever.
Yeah.
Part 1 through 4 put together in the blender.
Yeah.
But I have fun with it. I mean, compared to the Halloween remake, it's a Psycho, the original.
Yeah. Compared to the Halloween remake, it's like Citizen Kane. It's amazing.
Or Billy Bob Thornton and Nightmare on Elm Street remake or whatever. They sound like Billy Bob Thornton to me. I mean,
I guess out of all the horror remakes, including Texas Chainsaw and My Bloody Valentine, the Friday the 13th one is the most tolerable, most entertaining.
I actually like My Bloody Valentine a lot. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a fun
I hated the switcheroo and the
I liked it too.
characterization.
That's a didn't get to see in 3D, but that's a fun movie.
I like this girl going for a skinny dip.
Yes. And water that's like,
and you tell it's very cold.
30-degree water.
You can tell it's very cold. Yes, and I love this guy's. I love the ensemble this guy's wearing.
Typical 80s douche.
This guy,
that's
I
the
feel
uniform.
like Chad's character. I think Chad's character model might be slightly based off of this guy.
Definitely.
He's
From the
almost
video game.
he's almost Fred from Scooby Doo. He just needs a little bit around the neck.
because in the script originally her character was a swimmer and she had more context. That's why she goes in the water, and they don't explain that. She just runs in the water.
It's a Friday the 13th movie. It's not out of bounds for someone to go skinny dipping, I guess.
Sure.
Like that. Like that guy's death. Like he just swings the axe and it just sort of cuts so abruptly.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
And then you only really see the damage from a distance, so you can't even tell really what happened. So,
but you can tell they meant to edit 3 pops, pop, 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 and then they just do 2.
Yeah. I do like the Jaws cinematography here, though.
Oh yeah.
Because when the death happens, if you see the footage online, folks, the blood spurts out, and then it's this big. They really hate Paramount and MPA really. They hate the MPA. Oh my God.
How did this one perform at the box office?
It was #1 opening weekend, like all the other ones. Though it really the Friday they was first one. A little dip. 3 and 4 did really well, and then starting with 5, they went like that. So for us, less and less.
I want to say this made probably 13 to 15 million, I think.
Yeah, somewhere around there, which is decent. I mean, made its money back, but by this point, it was really just the core fan base that was showing up. They weren't, breaking out wider.
I'm sure I think Paramount was probably mad too, because at the same time you had Elm Street 4, and that made 50 million.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm sure they're
exactly.
Maybe that's why they had to. You probably already answered this, but was one of the ideas before this? Did this early do Freddy vs. Jason? This early?
Yeah. They were talking about it, but New Line's we don't need to give you the do this
right.
Doing great. So it wasn't until both proof that the idea came about. I mean, that's why part 8 is the way it is. I mean, they told him directly, hey, Nightmare on Elm Street is doing great. You got to make some fresher, especially all those effects in part 8 when he comes out of the mirror. You know, there's all that kind of stuff. Because it's not enough just to have a guy from the woods anymore.
Yeah, that's the one film I can't defend. I can't defend part 8. I mean, you can't. The little boy looks normal for some reason. He's like, they never saw the first movie, and I didn't know New York Toxic Waste came every midnight in New York. But
Yeah. Oh, it does. It does. Yeah.
that's why you get the chuds, I guess.
The only reason I give part 8 a little bit of a pass is that some of its characters are just really outrageous, like the characters in part 5.
Yeah.
Where like they almost don't act like real people, like they're just caricatures. Like Julius is just kind of really a silly character.
Right.
I kind of appreciate him, and like the deckhand, who's like, you know, he's like Crazy Ralph on steroids. Like I just sort of like the characters in that movie. But I agree, the movie has some real problems, unfortunately.
It's one of those things like later on you kind of would see the good version of that. That's Maniac Cop 2, for those who've seen that. If it was like Maniac Cop 2, like that style with a killer in a city, and like, could you imagine Jason in a police station? Like in Maniac Cop 2, for those who've seen that?
Yeah.
You know, you could do that today, but no, they don't do that.
I would like to see a remake of part 8. Like if if Paramount ever gets the right, like similar how we were talking about, like what are these like alternative sequels you could make, like just put them out there. Yeah. If someone just said like, let's like do part 8, but do it right, like what would that movie look like? Again, I'm sure that would never happen, but I just think that would be interesting to see. Yeah. I think that would make money, actually.
It would, yeah. I
feel like this is the last movie where they tried to make Jason scary. I do. Yeah. He did like those cool shots of him, but then once you get to part 8, once he's in Manhattan, it can be fun, but it's never going to be scary. Like Jason is just like,
yeah,
that's camp. I love the VCR.
I've always liked Tina's mom's hair too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hair helmet. I love the way she screams later. Tina. Yeah, here's another example. Everyone just walks around in the woods in the middle of the night for no reason. Like, all right.
And they always stumble across like everything significant whenever they're out there.
It's very brightly lit too in that forest.
It's an extra double full moon tonight, so it's just very bright. That's what's doing it.
Even this one, even this scene, they've darkened it, but it's still too bright, way too bright. Now, Buechler had only directed like one other film before this, right? Like that Troll movie. Had he done anything else?
I don't think so. I think he's more mostly effects guy.
Yeah. I mean, definitely as a makeup effects guy, he was, talented. As a filmmaker, he had his shortcomings.
And this movie was so rushed. I mean, it's so obvious. Like later on, like screen direction, shots don't match. Like you can kind of tell it was put together because from shooting to release, it was like 6 months only.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it was like, whoosh. Yeah.
So there's always a lot talked about with this movie about like all the deaths that were cut and the edits made from that. But was there anything from like a story or character perspective that you know of that was changed or cut out, or like, again, we all know like the Freddy vs. Jason stuff, but like from kind of the movie close to its final form, was there something that wasn't working that they kind of pulled out of the script or they pulled out of the shooting that you know of?
John Carbaker said the main thing is he wanted us to see Tina's visions more, so she would see like that one scene where she sees Jason killing her mom on the roadway. Like he wanted more of that, and they wouldn't let him shoot it, so it was never actually shot. He wanted her to actually see Jason and all this other stuff and make it a little more fantastical that way. But
it's interesting because by not doing that, those scenes are kind of sort of out of left field.
Yeah, it's
like sort of just every night, like randomly Tina sees these things, but you don't really connect. I don't know. It's kind of awkward how it's done.
Yeah, because is she like telekinetic? Is she psychic? Like she kind of is a little bit of everything.
All of the above.
Mix it all together.
She's an X-Man, an
in
X-Woman.
the Part 7 chapter, both Daryl Haney and John Carl Buechler have no kind words for Barbara Sachs.
No.
What was her kind of role? I know she's credited as like an associate producer, but what was her role in the whole thing?
She worked with Hometown Films, which was Frank Mancuso's company. So at that point, Frank was off doing much bigger movies. I think he got Internal Affairs going with Richard Gere. So he said, I need someone who's going to run these movies for me on set. And he picked her. And to quote, John Carl Buechler called her a little Hitler. So I guess she's the one who came with the idea for the housing development and all that. And Rob they had some trouble with her too. I guess she just really micromanaged, like, their stories were just, she would hyper focus on things like the color of a couch and just make everything forever. She fought against the mask being blown open. John Carl, they didn't want that reveal, when Tina does her something. Yeah. So basically he just did not like any of her decisions. So they just butted heads completely. Like everything she liked, he hated, and he liked, she hated. So that was what and then I think Daryl Haney basically said that, she just had these delusions of grandeur. We're trying to elevate Friday the 13th into something it wasn't. So, I did reach out to her. She teaches in Santa Barbara now, but she did not want to talk about it. So I did that, which is kind of a shame, because the problem is then, it'd be nice to hear her side of it, because you only get one person's perspective, and it's like, right. Yeah. Like if and
you have to wonder. You have to wonder from just like a devil's advocate perspective, was she being told to push those kinds of ideas?
Sure.
Like, maybe Frank Mancuso, maybe he had some of these ideas and he told her, and she tried to like make them reality. And you just, you don't know. She didn't speak for herself, so you're not sure.
Well, like Danny Simon said, he was told explicitly, you have to have murder every 7 minutes, even if the characters, don't mean anything. And that was, had to do it. He had no choice. So I love her. Touch up my ass. Again, no. Like,
speaking like a plot hole, why is she going outside? This is one I asked.
Yes.
She's looking for this guy. I could go look in the house for him, or I can just go wander in the woods looking for him.
Well, in the deleted scene, she does find him smoking like weed with the other girl, and then she runs off. But she sees him first, and then she runs off, and because she knows the other girl's with him. So, but when you cut that stuff out, then
it doesn't.
But she does find you and realizes, okay, it's too late. Then she runs off. But that was to cut it out because it made sense, I guess.
Exactly.
If it makes sense, cut it out.
I do love too, like when she looks for earring, like everything's always perfectly timed. The body falls just when she's, underneath it. Jason has it all planned out. Like that's a classic horror movie thing. Like in part 3, Chris is walking to the barn and then one of the biker guys falls right in front of her. Like it's always perfectly timed. That's just the way to set it. Here we go.
I think if you're going to be like a serial killer in one of these franchises, you also need to have like an associate's degree in like project planning or something. So that
right.
See, that was actually talking about like the remake for a moment. Like that was actually something that I liked. They tried to write into the story to some extent. That like Jason is this, like he's this. If you think logically about it, he's been in the woods for 25 years or whatever. He like lives off the land. Like he's a hunter, and so like he's very good at like tying down traps and doing these kinds of things. I like that level of like thinking about it, and it felt very organic. If you're going to remake the story and make it your own, building that into the story in advance, I thought that was just an interesting take.
Well, he's done traps before in the series. There's part 2 where the guy gets hung upside down and he slits the guy's throat and stuff. So I know some people got mad with the trap stuff, but that part didn't bother me. The part where, hey, here's this girl and it's my mom or whatever the hell, that was weird. Wasn't it like there's some locket she has? It must be my mom.
It was just like she kind of looked like his mom, I guess.
Yeah, or something. Except without the vest, but
I did like his bed that had Jason carved in the wood. Remember that?
Yes.
Now, I don't know if the director of Part 6 was kidding when he said this, but there was an interview not too long ago where he mentioned like he proposed Jason meeting Cheech and Chong for like part 7 or part 6. I don't know if he's fooling or if he's real.
I've heard that before. I don't know if it was that guy, but I've heard that concept before.
The director of part 6, Tom McLaughlin, you mentioned it. I don't know if that's what he wanted to do with it because they're both Paramount.
Well, it's like Jaws. Like Jaws 3 originally was called Jaws 3 People Zero. It was going to be a
Joe Dante.
Yeah.
Joe Dante film parody, like Airplane.
It's like Abbott and Costello go meet Frankenstein kind of thing. This is at least a fun little sequence where he at least sets stuff up and tries to play around with the stalking and everything.
Yeah.
We were just talking about like part 5 and like Danny Steinman being all coked out. And you just mentioned Jaws 3. I just saw Dennis Quaid on like Andy Cohen's show, and they asked him a question, like, because I guess in a book he wrote or somewhere he made a comment that like movies in the 80s would sometimes like try to in like the movie budget, they'd like inflate costs so that they could buy cocaine with the overages. And they asked him, like, of the movies you did in the 80s, like which one probably had the highest cocaine budget, and he said Jaws 3. Which I thought was really funny.
Well, I heard that too from some Friday people. They said the big reason was because they had to work all night. It was non-union. People had to stay up so long. That's what kept you going, I guess. So
yeah.
It was a different time.
I knew there was a reason I like Jaws 3. It's the cocaine. It's like Maximum Overdrive over again. Just people need to do more cocaine, I guess.
That's why everybody looks sweaty in that movie.
It's that cocaine high.
Well, that explains that awful fake shark. Remember when it breaks through the glass in 3D? And it's like,
Yeah, the effects on that are not great.
It's like a loaf of bread floating through the.
I do love that no one in this movie actually seems to have sex in the house. They always go in the van or outside. It's like,
yeah. Well, everybody knows van sex is the best sex.
Yes.
I think these characters' deaths are some of the ones who suffer the most from the edits. Because like when you look at the uncut footage, his death is brutal. Like Jason basically just like mushes his whole face. And hers is a lot more violent too.
Like accordions his head. Just
yeah. And I also do like this sort of tenuous plot about it's the guy's birthday, but no one really seems to care.
Yeah. Well, and William Butler, the guy who plays the brother who the birthday's for, he's been killed by Jason. He's been killed by Leatherface, and he got killed by Freddy in a Freddy's Nightmares episode. So,
yeah.
Also a ghoulie.
Oh, go ahead.
And ghoulies too.
Oh yeah.
Also killed by a ghoulie. There you go.
And the funny thing is, after this, he actually went on to work for Nickelodeon for a while. I know that. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
And he directed Return of the Living Dead 4 and 5. He was the director of those.
Did he direct those or did he write? I think he wrote those. Did he direct those too?
Maybe he wrote them, but I know there was an interview and he was very defensive. Like, it's not my fault. So maybe he didn't write it.
Yeah.
I know he directed one of the Ginger Dead Man movies. Ginger Dead Man.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Even I have my limits for bad cinema. Well, that's one of the things about the cuts on this. Like, the other Friday things got cut sometimes, but at least you saw enough of it. This is so cut out. You don't even know really what happened sometimes.
Yeah, you get the idea that he's crushing his head, but that's kind of it.
Yeah. It's like if you watch the uncut footage from like the first movie, it's like 2 seconds. You know what I mean? You wouldn't even realize it, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And sometimes a little better. Like the first movie, the Kevin Bacon thing, I actually like the shorter version just because the longer one, the second shot looks really fake.
Yeah.
It helps the effect.
Yeah.
Like that, I couldn't even tell he put the thing in her eye. I was like, what? And now you probably remember.
Why is there a bandana on the
lamp? Yeah, good.
Is that for mood lighting?
It was the 80s. Yeah, I have the bandana anywhere.
Mood lighting. There you go. What were you going to say, Peter?
Daryl Haney made a very made it very important. He's like, I want it to be known I did not write the soap on a rope line. That was not him. So very embarrassed by that when he heard it.
Wouldn't it be funny if we found out that that Miguel Ferrero or whatever was like David Mamet? That was David Mamet who did.
That would be awesome. Well, sometimes, some of these people do go on to other things, and then they're. I wonder if there's a way to go to the Writers Guild and just figure out who that was. There's got to be some record of it somewhere. That would be funny if it was someone like really famous.
Yeah. Oh, and this is the room that they're filming this in was in the Part 4 house too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where this whole love scene and where she gets thrown out the window, that was a bedroom in the Part 4 house.
That's right.
Ah.
Jason,
Who owns this Crystal Lake property? Like you must just lose a ton of money.
Well, nowadays there would be so many people. Like there would be, like Blair Witch. There would be like stalkers and fans and real life murder, fanatics. That would be all over and this would be like not a tourist attraction, but if that many murders in one place, that would be legendary. Again, wandering in the forest. There we go.
Yep, wandering around the forest. Yep.
And they happen to go right by the right spot where
Jason put a sign, walk this way.
Exactly.
It's kind of weird in this one because there's like that scene much later where Jason's just like piling bodies in the woods. Like he never really did that before.
He kind of, not in one place. I guess Part 2 he had the altar. I always thought that he always is going to go back and try to kind of recreate that altar thing of, I don't know. I'm totally stretching, but he does a little bit more. But my favorite moment is coming up soon, which is when the cat is sitting in the closet. I'm like, okay, so A, someone brought a cat camping. B, they put the cat in the closet for the whole weekend. You never noticed, but there's a cat.
It's a little bit like in Part 2. Like it looks like somebody like hurled the cat through the window. Like the way when you were looking at it doesn't look like the cat jumped.
No.
Yeah, that cat was definitely thrown. The ASPCA was not there. The Humane Society was not there that day.
Yes, no. Part 2 is the best. You totally can see that cat being thrown through that window. My cat did not find that funny right now.
Yeah, my cat sitting next to me right now did not find that funny.
Yeah.
Now, which
I've
of
always
the
thought.
filming locations have you been to, Peter?
I've been to other ones here, so I've been to Part 3, 4, 5. I think that's it.
Now, is Part 4 is that like just? I mean,
the Saugus. Yeah, if you go up, it's about an hour and a half north of LA.
Is that just
there?
Is that just a private home owned by somebody?
Yeah, it's owned by. It was for sale for a while, but now it's owned by a private thing. Yeah, so I don't think they let anyone in. It was also used in Eraser, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Mm-hmm. They built the blue house for their kids. That was a structure that doesn't exist. And then Part 5 is in Camarillo. All the orange groves up there, so you can go up there and see that. It's not as exciting because pretty much everything's gone. It doesn't look like it does in Part 5 anymore. And then 3, the barn burned down, which sucks. So or the lodge, or one of them burned down. And it's right by Magic Mountain, so it's funny because I remember when I went there, you hear the roller coasters in the background, when you're there.
I always thought the death of the stoner guy was kind of like lazy.
Yeah.
Like he just kind of just walks up and stabs him. It's like, I don't know.
Well,
we need to kill this guy.
The reason I ask about the Part 4 house, if it's like a privately owned, like people would want to find out where it's at and then just show up at somebody's house, like, oh my God, there's.
Yeah, I can't, you can just kind of go up because it's in the woods. It's not like privately gated. So they did a featurette on it, and the DVD or the Blu-ray where Joe Zito and Eric Anderson.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like Laura Palmer's house is not far from where I live, like from Twin Peaks. Like Cameron just like showed up there. Cameron from Noxious Anonymous, one of the guys, Peter. He's doing a Twin Peaks fan film, and he went up there and he's like going to do filming in it. And the people who live there are, to my mind, almost like too accepting of that stuff. Like, you know, as long as you like call them and talk to them in advance, like they let you come in, take pictures, see the house, they'll talk with you. I think it's really cool that they're so like kind of open about it. I just have to think though that most people, if you bought a house like that, you kind of like, you'd want your privacy to some extent.
Yeah.
That's how the Halloween houses are a few blocks from. And the Laurie Strode's house, and then the house that Pete. What's the kids? I can't remember the house of the other kids.
Tommy Doyle.
Good, thank you. Yeah, so the Doyle house people are cool like that. Like they let people look in around Halloween and stuff, but the other house doesn't want anyone peeking in. So
yeah. Isn't the Myers house transplanted? Like I thought that whole house was moved or something.
Stuff, yeah, that's different. I mean the one that Laura shows, the two babysitting houses that are across the street from each other.
Oh, okay.
Myers house, yeah, is in Pasadena, so that's farther away from here, and that got moved. Yeah, they were filming totally two different cities, which is funny. So
yeah.
I was talking to one of the camp counselors at Camp Nubby Bosco about people that sneak into the camp there to try and, you know, find stuff. And he said for a while it was very bad, that there was they were constantly running people away. And, you know, he was telling me that the last people he ran off in the middle of the night. They'd driven all the way from Canada down to New Jersey just to crash the camp. And yeah, so
you've got a vacation, and that's how you want to spend it.
And they had the original sign, the Crystal Lake sign. They've got that there, so they probably guard that, so they don't want people to steal it or people to like try and tear down, you know, parts of the cabin to take with them. But and of course it's a working Boy Scout camp many months of the year, so
yeah. I assume it gets cold there, right? In the winter. I mean, it's gotta be.
Yeah.
You sort of feel like towards the end of this movie, like they're just kind of like checking off the boxes to get to the big Tina fight.
There's a sense in this movie of roteness. Like the filmmakers, even the filmmakers seem a little like, okay, they got to go through that. There isn't the same excitement like part 6, even part 8. The directors were really into it. I just never got a sense that John Carpenter really liked. He doesn't really like slasher movies, so he seemed more into the beginning and the end of the movie than this stuff. This felt like checking boxes.
Well, and that's the problem too. When you have such a large cast of people that you've got to kill, you know, you've got to spend all this time killing them off, and you know.
Do you know if, like Danny Steinman told you specifically, like I was told, like every 7 minutes someone needs to die. Did any of the other directors indicate anything like that to you?
Yeah, Tom McLaughlin, he was disappointed because his movie had less murders originally. They made him add 3 kills. They said there's a dry patch. That was one. But Rob had it in this script, like they just loaded it with kills. Like I don't think they even. I mean, part 8 is an action movie more than a horror movie. I mean, it's, you know.
Right.
I mean, I think more people get killed on the boat in part 8 than Jason kills, right? The big wave.
Yeah, they just go down with the ship. The teacher leads them down there and then doesn't go back and get them.
Yeah, I actually had an argument with somebody on YouTube one time about all those that we can count those kills toward Jason's body count, and the guy was like, "No, those don't count. Those don't count." And I was like, "The families of those people." You know what I mean?
Well, here comes the cat.
I've always thought some of the survivors from part 2, like half of the counselors that just disappear, they go out drinking and then they never come back, you don't see them again, that there could be material that's like ripe for like a sequel or something, like from one of those guys.
We always laugh because all the minorities in that movie get pushed to the back. Like there's the Asian girl and the black guy. They don't get any speaking lines and they get thrown out. It's only the white kids that are in the top. That's
But yeah, this poor cat, somebody shoved it in the closet.
I know, never meowed the whole weekend. It's just been sitting there on the shelf.
Yeah. Poor kitty.
So I would say, not only is he in the closet, someone like jammed him on a shelf in the middle. Like he's getting this little short shelf.
Yeah. I mean, who brings a cat camping in the first place? I don't know.
Maybe he's a barn cat.
Yeah, he's just happy to be working. The cat's like, I got a job.
Yeah.
I got my side card for this movie.
Yeah. Got to pay those SAG dues somehow.
That's right.
Did anyone talk about, this is random, but did anyone ever talk about like the dog on part 4? Like some people have like horror stories about like working with the pets on the sets of movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
Did that dog do anything interesting? Because I don't remember anything called out in the book explicitly.
Yeah, the people like the dog in 4, but Jensen Daggett hated the dog in 8. That little dog she had, she couldn't stand that dog.
Oh, okay.
The dog hater. Yeah, but the biggest question with 4 is everyone's like, did the dog like jump to it? Did it commit suicide or?
Right.
Yeah. We never see the dog again. He doesn't help anybody. I guess he's dead. I don't know.
The
it's
dog
confusing. It's like because I don't think Jason threw him out the window, but it seems like he just jumped himself.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, did he just? So
the
that's
dog
a man in a wig, by the way, got thrown out the window.
Yeah. The dog was the smart one. The dog got the hell out of there.
Yeah, it's like fuck this. Gordon, that's right. The dog's name was Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon.
Yeah.
When I was doing that rewatch with everybody of all those movies in part 4, there's like a stretch of that movie where all anyone's doing is wandering around. Gordon, Gordon, like that's like the only person anyone's looking for. It's so like that just became like a catchphrase for us.
Do people do that? Like, I don't think I've ever called out someone's name over and over again. Like, I don't. People. I love the lighting here. It's so bright. Like, that's a bright moon. Tina. I love
We
this.
kind of forgot about these guys for a while.
Yeah, where they been? They just. Also, it's weird because I thought the houses were right next to each other. Like, I didn't think I thought they were neighbors. That's why I can't figure out where people going.
Now, did you speak to the mother in the book?
Yes,
Peter?
she's in Susan Blue. She had a good time, you know. But she said, you know, she got, you know, actual dialogue and stuff with Tina and the doctor. You know, she got a lot more of the dramatic stuff to do. So.
And she, I think, became one of the voices in the Transformers.
Yeah, she's a big
female.
Voice. Yes.
Yeah, the female voice.
She
RC. That was the character's name.
That's funny.
Yeah, she does a school for like
When you
voiceover.
really,
Yeah, voiceover school. Yeah, she's a teacher or something.
when you really think about like the horrificness of the death, she has a much worse death than Dr. Cruz because we don't see his.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you just kind of see it, but like what happens to her is pretty terrible.
Yeah, well, he pushes her into him. I mean,
Yeah.
It's like, Bernie. Why'd you do that, Bernie?
I love Jason's like, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the assist, Bernie.
See, maybe he survived and he got stitched up, and then Weekend at Bernie's comes out, and then he does the job that's over and just bash his body all over. It's like, that's what you get.
Weekend at Jason's. There you
There you go.
Weekend at Bernie's 3, I'm telling
go. Bernie versus Jason. There you go.
It's gotta be the Bernie and Weekend at Bernie's 2 with the voodoo. He comes up and he's dancing from the voodoo music.
The attempt to make Nick some sort of action hero never quite panned out, did it?
He looks the part. I mean, the denim, you know, that's one of the prerequisites for an action hero. Denim. Can I have that denim?
Yes. He's sort of dressed like Tommy to some extent. He's got the denim coat,
Yeah.
you know, and the jeans and.
Maybe kind of the problem is like Tina's really the lead, so he kind of just getting in the way. Like she should really be doing it herself. He's kind of useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm here to save your butt. Then he gets his ass kicked. She saves him. Then he shows up again. I'm here to save your butt. Gets his ass kicked. You know. So.
Yeah.
Didn't he do a lot of soap work after this?
Yeah, Days of Our Lives on this big show. He was on. Well, his biggest thing, he was the understudy for Hugh Jackman in that Boy from Oz show on Broadway. And it was famous because Hugh Jackman never missed a performance. So he was like the only understudy who never got to get his thing. So he's like, God damn Hugh Jackman for never being sick. Again, the brightest forest in history.
Yes. They've definitely darkened the Blu-ray. They've definitely turned it down. It's very dark.
It's funny you mentioned that guy. He didn't get anything from Hugh Jackman. He was in a big movie. He was in that Ben Affleck film Daredevil, but he's on the director's cut because he played a lawyer and he got cut out. He was like one of the lawyers, and Ben Affleck had his trial. He's one of the opposing lawyers who got cut out.
That's funny.
He's only on the director's cut, so
the R-rated version of that movie is actually mildly watchable compared to the theatrical version.
Yes,
I didn't see that.
You're not missing much.
Yeah, even Ben Affleck shouldn't really be a superhero. I don't know.
It's always, I think when Jason, like when people would always talk about Jason long ago, he always had like a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And he never he never had a chainsaw like in any stuff. It's like I think people were always like conflating Jason and Leatherface. This is like the closest he ever gets, like with this power tool here.
Yeah.
You know, when NECA does the Ultimate Part 7 Jason figure, it will come with that saw.
Totally. These people always stop running. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just catch my breath a moment.
If I put some distance between us, I'll just catch my breath for a minute.
Yeah.
I guess he is older.
I don't think Jason did as much teleporting until this movie. I mean, am I maybe forgetting something? It's like even in part 6, I don't think he teleported around like he does in this one, and part 8 is like one where it really happens a lot.
Yeah. Part 8, he's everywhere at once. So.
And well, then part 9, he's body switching. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Second powers. Yeah, that's really bad.
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen that oddly shaped tree about 1 million times.
It's just frustrating because like there's network TV violence that I've seen that's so graphic. Yeah.
I mean, it tells you how much things have changed since, in 30 years. So.
Today, I'm coming to PG-13.
Yeah. Even with the nudity, it'd be like PG-13.
Yeah.
I always think it's funny when like AMC does its like Fear Fest before Halloween, and like they chop the crap out of like Friday the 13th movies, and it's not even close to being anything as horrible as what they do in like The Walking Dead on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Like for like Friday the 13th Part 6, you could basically just run that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to make any edits.
Yeah.
Maybe because I think some people do drop the F-bomb. I guess you can't do that.
I enjoy the Friday 13th movies, and I know people want another one. I just don't know what more you can do after 12 movies if you count Freddy vs. Jason. It's like, what more can you really do?
Yeah, I don't, do kids even go to camp anymore? They have their cell phone.
If it's
they go to Airbnb.
Only if it's in a video game.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I just don't know.
Go ahead.
Oh no, if that sort of whole idea of going to camp and being isolated, does that even exist for kids? Like, would they get into it? Because I remember in the 80s when I saw this stuff, like, we always went to summer camp, and it was like that. You didn't have cell phones, and you went to these rural places, but everything's so connected. Like, I'm sure they have Wi-Fi at Boy Scout camp now, so.
Yeah. Jason's going to jam the route. Yeah, I mean, I love the Friday. I mean, the only one I don't like is Part 8. That's how much I can deal with them and like them because they're fun, like movies. But it's like, what more can you do? Sometimes it's like, I'd rather attempt a different character or something. That's why I like My Blade Valentine. They tried to do something there. It's like,
and that movie was really gory too.
yeah.
That's kind of why I like the idea of the show, and not necessarily like what you talked about, Peter, like what you said, they're actually the idea behind what they were going to do. But like maybe with a show, like you could explore more of like the town and their relationship to Jason, and maybe get into some mythology. Like you can kind of like go deeper, do some other things. And I think people could accept it because it's a different medium. It's a new like storytelling device. So I think they'd maybe be more accepting of that change. But I kind of agree with Rambo. Like the movies, I'd love to see another one, and I'd be there absolutely. But like, I'm not sure what new thing you could add to it.
Well, I did like the one they were going to do. Aaron Guzikowski, I think, wrote it.
Yeah, that was not a good idea.
Yeah,
Was that the winter one?
No, that was the exploring the relationship between Jason and his mother.
And his dad was in it.
And his dad, yeah.
I don't even know what that was.
Rob Zombie did that Halloween too.
Nobody wants that. Like that's like Jason Goes to Hell all over again. It's like people want Jason. Like they don't want some weird prequel thing.
Yeah. It was weird. They had characters named the same as characters in the other movies, but they weren't the same character. Like they had Jeff and Sandra. It was just weird. And I'm like, I don't understand what this is.
Yeah. One thing that was interesting that one of the counselors at Camp Nubby Bosco mentioned was that, for 20 years they were told, don't mention Jason, don't say anything about Jason, or that this is the camp where it was filmed. Quiet, don't say a thing about it. Because they didn't want to scare kids, they didn't want to turn parents off to sending their kids to the camp, and they just didn't want that stigma. And now they're all Jason, Friday the 13th, it's all. But I thought it was interesting because you're talking about a show that takes place in Camp Crystal Lake or at Crystal Lake about events that took place there, and everybody's kind of hush hush. Well, that's how they treated.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Camp Nubby Bosco, like, no, Jason, don't mention it, don't say anything about it.
Well, I feel like there's been a big switch. Like the first 20 years of Friday the 13th, it was still kind of like this dark secret that people didn't want people to know they were in it. It was whatever. And then now it's like this cute thing. Like there's a little, I play that. What's that puzzle game with Jason? You played that app?
Yeah.
I've heard about it. I've not played it though.
Yeah, my nephews love it because it's cute little Jason. He's killing people, and I think it's really cute. Like now it's just like an Americana thing.
At the time, it was this much above porn. What I mean? Now it's Yeah.
This is a good death scene.
Yeah. Axe to the face.
I always do like you can kind of see Jason like moving his teeth through like the side of his cheek, like in the makeup here.
Well, even the face, they only wanted it to be shown from one angle because the other angle was so mutilated that they didn't want that side shown.
Even with Tina, I don't know. I still prefer the end of part 3 or 4, the two, all the Jasons. I think are a little bit better than this one.
Oh yeah, the end of part 3.
Yeah,
Chris might be my favorite final girl. I just think the end of part 3 is so entertaining. Mostly just because she's got so much like ingenuity and spunk, and like she just really brings it. Like she like really desperately wants to survive, and she fights back hard.
Yeah.
Like that scene where she's like got the knife and she's like going at him. I've always thought that was like such a great sequence because like Jason's like backing away.
Yeah. I love Kim
I
Beck.
disagree with that.
I love Kim Beck in part 4, where she like takes the machete and she's like, I'm gonna give you something. You know what I mean? And she like, I always like. I think she got tough when she.
Yeah.
I always liked her.
Yeah. Trish is pretty solid. Yeah.
Yeah. And when he's got her down and she's just pounding on his mask, you know what I mean? And he's just like, well, yeah.
I like Amy Steele too a lot. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, Amy
The
Steele's
Tommy
great.
plot kind of sidelined the female final girl leads. Like Tina's the first one like you've genuinely had since part 5, kinda.
Yeah, but you have Nick, hanging around. So
Yeah.
Even part 8, they all had co-leads. There was never. Yeah, even the remake, they've never done a single final girl ever since.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, they always do like a partnership.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain point where it's like there's more than one survivor.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, the one thing that they definitely nailed with this movie was the look of Jason, the damage,
Yes.
Everything was that's just amazing.
Oh, it's funny the way his leg is twisted out.
Yeah, yeah. It's like when
look at his face.
Yeah, it's
every
like
mark on his makeup is something that happened to him in one of the earlier movies.
Yeah, it's like when you think of. I think when I think of Jason, I think of either part 3 or part 7 Jason. Those are like the living Jason is part 3, the zombie Jason is part 7.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, Kane's getting pissed off here. You can tell. He's like,
oh yeah. He's like, this bitch got some voodoo. I ain't never dealt with one like this before.
This is exactly how Kane Hodder reacted when Freddy vs. Jason came out. They didn't give him the role. Good job on you.
Yeah.
So, since the stunt people who had played Jason had been so like disposable up to this point, and like you said, they might have just gone with C.J. Graham again for this one, but they brought Kane in. What is it that got him part 8? Did he just kind of come back and say, I wanted it?
Yeah,
they were like, okay, sure. Or was there something more to it?
Yeah, he campaigned for it. He went to Barbara Sachs and Randy, the producers, and Rob Head and said, this means so much to me. I want to play the part. And they said, you got it. So.
Okay.
But Ken Kersinger actually doubled him in one scene in part 8.
Right.
Yeah, the subway thing, I think.
And then Jason threw him against the glass in part 8. He was like the bartender or whatever.
That's right.
In the cafe, I mean.
It's kind of too bad that Kane
That's like the perfect expression of how I feel about Kane Hodder's depiction of Jason versus Ken Hertzler's or whatever.
Yeah.
That scene of him throwing him against the glass in the diner. That's what I think of it.
I wonder if there's any bad blood between those two. Like if they run into each other at a convention, it's just like,
There was. It's a little bit in the book. Kane was a little mad, but they patched it up since then.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah. That's good.
I mean, is it?
It was more Ronnie Hughes' fault or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not really his fault. I mean, he got a job.
It's a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least Ken gets to do the video game and stuff. So I mean, I think Kane kind of considered. Usually people interview with Jason, they usually go to Kane.
Yeah.
God, that really is a great explosion.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of like the way the house explodes in Lethal Weapon 2. Because like that's a real explosion too, isn't it?
I'm sure it was, yeah.
There was supposed to be a different ending after this, but they cut it out. I think it's on the DVD.
It is.
So, is that the one that's like in the deleted scenes or the cut scenes, like where it's like her dad does it?
No. Well, there's that, and there's also the fisherman at the end. I'm jumping too far ahead, but
right.
Oh yeah, Jason comes up, drives the fisherman into the
yeah.
And it's still the dad, but it was supposed to be more decomposed.
Yeah.
I think Barbara said no or something, looked like a frog or something.
Yeah.
I think I would have liked that ending better because it's like there isn't really. Jason doesn't really get beaten in this. Like, her dad drags him underwater, but like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
That's some pretty silly stuff, that's for sure.
Well, then, like in part 8, his outfit doesn't match at all because Hurricane is pretty much his whole outfit's pretty much burned off.
Yeah, he's like bone.
Yeah. And 2 doesn't make sense because when they part 8, like when they show Jason, he's like way underwater, like with a power cable. Like, did he float away from here?
And he's
Like,
got like the dock laying on top of him.
like,
There's a lot about part 8 that does make sense.
Yeah.
In
Also,
my own head,
it shows how shitty
sorry,
the
go ahead,
cops are. No, it shows how shitty the cops are because they didn't dress father's body. When she was a kid, I guess they left the dead body down in the river, in the lake,
yeah.
when he fell down.
Why
They
is
didn't search for a
there's-
body, I guess, for the dad.
There's Binkley right there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
In my own head, I always rationalized that the ending we just kind of saw there, like with her dad, maybe didn't actually happen. That it was more of like one of Tina's
was
like
her.
hallucination things, and that Jason blew up in the house and like part of the dock like crashed on him when he was. I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't make any sense.
Psychically, and it made him in her mind, because I think that's what Becor was saying was. Sorry, my cat just jumped on my thing. Yeah, he knocked my screen. Becor was saying, he wanted those visions, so the ending would have made more sense, because she'd been seeing visions and imagining things, realizing things in her mind all the time, and now it just seems like, wait, her dad's alive, or wait, what?
Right, and her dad actually doesn't look so bad. It's kind of like, well, why don't you just stay out here, Dad? I guess I brought you back successfully this time.
Yeah.
That is actually the shortest Friday the 13th as well. It's only 88 minutes, I think.
Ah, okay.
First one. That and her.
Well, that concludes Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Final thoughts on Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, Peter?
Oh my God, I didn't realize they spelled Corey Feldman wrong in the credits.
Oh, wait, did they? I got to rewind that. I don't know if I've noticed that before.
Yeah, in the prologue, they misspelled Corey Feldman's name. I never noticed that.
They did. They left out the E. That's funny.
Should sue.
Wow. That's funny. Well, final thoughts on Friday the 13th, Part 7, Peter?
I mean, it's not my favorite one. And parts of the earlier ones. There's just a lot of, I mean, it's fun, but there's some problems with it, continuity, everyone running around the forest, but it has some good kills. Jason's awesome. Jason looks great. There's some cool stuff. So, it's, I don't know. Yeah, it's okay, I guess. I'd put it in the middle of the Friday the 13th.
Okay.
What do you think?
Okay. Yeah. Eric, your thoughts? Part 7?
Yeah, it's certainly not my favorite. It's like when you start getting past Part 6, I have to start sort of adding a caveat to like what I think about the movies at that point, because I think Kane Hodder as Jason is really solid. Like, he's a really good Jason. I like the opening. I like different aspects of like the way they do it. Again, I thought like the character of Tina and like kind of giving Jason like a true match was just an interesting concept. I don't know that it succeeded as well as it could have. But yeah, overall, it's certainly not my, we talked about this a billion times on this show, but like, Part 4 and Part 6 really are kind of like the top of the heap to me. This one's more in the middle. It's not, it's got some issues.
Okay. Rambo, your thoughts? Friday the 13th, Part 7?
Yeah, actually, Part 7, The New Blood is my second favorite after Jason Goes to Hell. Jason Goes to Hell is my favorite. This is my second favorite. I know. I'm the odd guy out. I like Lord Paul Lincoln. I like the crazy playoff of Carrie versus Jason. The effects, if they were in there, would be good. You'd find them on YouTube, I guess, folks. I was okay with the different attempt of the score, since they used to score the other Friday the 13th films before, so I like the different attempt. Fred Mullen, I forget the exact composer. But you said it's the shortest one, goes by at a fast pace. The finale, I would say, is one of my personal favorites. Because I was one of those guys for Friday the 13th. I first saw on the Dust to Dawn Friday the 13th Marathon by Joe Bob Briggs. So I saw like 2, 3, and 4 first on TNT. And then Jason Goes to Hell was the first one I saw, and then this was one of the first ones I saw that was uncut or whatever. And but it's not just for nostalgia reasons. I just have fun with that. It's just one of those things where every Friday the 13th film has silly shit. I mean, even the first one, love Betsy Palmer, but when she's throwing a 20-year-old girl through a window like a Cabbage Patch doll, I'm like, how the hell does that work? I mean, I know it's Betsy Palmer, but it's like, how the hell did she do all this? So, I mean, with every film, it's great. I mean, the second one, he's got the sack on his head, and like, he lived in the woods for how many decades? Wow, he's fit for eating squirrels and stuff. But personally, it's a fun movie. It is probably the last one that seems Friday the 13th in a weird way, because Part 8 was just, I'm not going to get into that. Jason Kyle was different, but it was interesting to me. I like John D. LeMay in that. Jason X, they just sci-fi fun B movie, and then Freddy vs. Jason was one of those I liked when I first saw it, but now it's like,
Yeah.
But anyway, personally, but I have fun with it. I'm entertained by it. It's junk food, but it's junk food I enjoy.
What do you think, Mike? Friday the 13th, Part 7. Or are you there, Mike?
Okay.
He may be having.
That's what he thinks.
So that's his opinion. There you go.
What about you, Warwick?
It's an amazing movie, but Rambo's favorite is Part 9. I gotta go with Part 8. It's the best movie ever made. Let's be real here. I mean, he takes a cruise ship and New York and Vancouver at the same time, all in one movie. What's not to love? Come on.
Mm-hmm.
You're fired, or you're fired.
No, you're fine. Fuck you. No, 8 is better than 9. Look
Yes.
No.
Well, I love Part 7. It was the very first one I ever saw, so it holds a special place in my heart because of that. I love Kane Hodder as Jason. I love the look of Jason. I like Lar Park Lincoln. Yeah, it's got issues. It certainly has issues, but I can overlook them pretty easily and have a fun time with the movie. It again, it's it was my first, and you never forget your first. So. Yeah, I
That's what
love
she
it.
said. Hey,
Well, let's see what the chat is having to say about Friday the 13th, Part 7, or just Josh O'Brien says it's a decent film, by far the best looking Jason. Yeah.
I would say the best looking zombie Jason is what I would say. I would caveat that.
Okay.
Part 4 is still my ideal Jason.
Okay. Max Punishment says he finally agrees with Orc on something. So you said something that Max Punishment agrees with you. Now, have you unbanned Max Punishment on Steam yet, Orc?
No, he's too late for me, dude. I can't even compete with his memes, his dank memes. Can't do it. Yeah.
Let's see. Ed Charlemagne says that Part 7 is his fourth favorite Friday the 13th in the series. Okay. Our buddy Jewel, Voorhees Chasing Ghosts, is watching with us tonight. How are you, sir? Hope you're doing well. The Shape says that the movie's bland. Okay. Jerpin says happy anniversary to Part 7.
Well, of course, Michael Myers doesn't like Friday the 13th. Joe.
Jerpin says Part 3 is his favorite of the series. So we got a nice lively chat going on tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the live commentary for Part 7. It was a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun. Always a good time hanging out with Peter and talking about the Friday the 13th series. So always a blast. And thank you so much, Peter, for hanging out with us and talking about Part 7. Like I said, always a blast hanging out with you. You're such a fountain of knowledge when it comes to these films. And I, for one, applaud your undying love for this series. So
please, someone send me hate mail. I want hate mail.
And I applaud you coming on the show again and hanging out with weirdos like me and not blocking me. So thanks. Don't clap.
Also, Peter is accepting applications for a stalker.
Yes,
So,
I need a celebrity stalker. Leave me dead. I don't know.
and also the people who are writing Peter asking for a free book. Come on,
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, don't do that. It takes
No,
time
seriously.
and energy and effort to do that. Like
Yeah.
feed the man. You're taking food out of his mouth, people.
Yeah, I kid you not. With the publisher of the contract, I get 5 free books. That's it. That's all I ever got.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Look forward to his next book on the Leprechaun series coming out. in late 2018.
If you're a younger fan, don't read that summer shit they give you for book reports. Just read his book. There you go. It's a nice
There you
meeting.
go.
There you go.
Do you have any idea how many copies that book has sold to date?
I do know. Yeah, it's a little over 25,000 copies
Wow, that's
Wow.
really cool.
for a book.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then we just signed a deal for Germany and a couple other territories, so it's going to be going other places in the world.
That's
Does
awesome.
that number include your ebook version, or is that a separate
Yeah,
metric?
it's separate. Yeah, I don't know about the ebook. I have to check.
Yep.
But, yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I have one of 25,000.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And we've been wanting to do a new version for the remake and stuff, and we're working on that. There's a couple issues, so hopefully that will change. But we'd like to do a new one, add some stuff in.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I remember we talked to you like this was like a year or two ago now, but you kept holding out for a new movie.
Yeah,
and it's just not happening.
Yeah,
So I think you're just moving ahead with what you were gonna do
well,
originally.
yeah, I've done like 20 new interviews, got some new photos, and then I did a bunch of stuff on the remake. It's just the question of some still image issues and stuff, and if we can get that going, we get a new version out. So the public doesn't want me to say that because they want to sell the books they have left in stock. So, but it wouldn't be anytime soon. It would take a while. So.
Well, and best of luck with the new book. Are you? Is there
Have
any?
me on soon? Well, when I announce it, you'll know more about it.
Okay.
Maybe we can do something with that.
Okay. And any time frame on an announcement or a?
Yeah, it's going to be announced later this year, and then I'm hoping for a late 2019 release on that one. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Awesome.
Book, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm
Well,
excited
best-
because it hasn't been done before. It's looking at some stuff that hasn't actually been documented really. So.
Ooh.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Sorry, no leprechaun.
Not Leprechaun. It's not Leprechaun related.
Thank
But if-
God.
But if you guys aren't
Should.
following Peter on social media, definitely follow him on social media for all the updates. We'll update you guys on social media as well. So yeah. But best of luck with that project, Peter.
Thank you guys, man. This is always awesome.
Yeah.
All
All right, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll call it a night. Thank you. Thanks to everybody on the panel for joining me tonight. Again, huge thanks to Peter Bracke for joining me tonight. Big thanks to everybody who watched along with us. Yeah, until next time, you guys have a great week. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, man.
And peace.
Night.
Later.
Yes.